Let's start. Okay, Bismillah, alhamdulillah, wassalatu wassalamu ala sayyidil anbiya wa ala alihi wa sahbihi wa man wala. Allahumma allimna ma yanfa'una wa anfa'na bima 'allamtana warzuqna 'ilman nafi'a waj'al hadha al-'ilma hujjatan lana la 'alayna ya ilaha al-awwalin wal akhirin. So inshallah we'll start. Before I start, I just want to give you a quick benefit. I want to ask you all, what is a hadith Qudsi? Have you ever heard of this term, hadith Qudsi? What is it? What is a hadith Qudsi?
Hadith in which Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is talking, but it's not part of the Quran. So it was revealed to Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, but it's not part of the Quran.
Okay, very good. Okay, it's a hadith in which the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam is expressing a message on behalf of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Okay? What is the definition of a regular hadith?
From the words of the Prophet himself, he takes in wahi or anything like that, but he says it in his own words.
Okay, words, what else?
Words and action, all the sunnahs.
Okay, so any word, any statement, any action, any approval, right? Any physical characteristic or any behavioral characteristic that is attributed to the Prophet ﷺ. 5 things, all right? This is a normal hadith, okay? This is a definition of a regular hadith, okay? And a hadith Qudsi is a hadith in which the Prophet ﷺ expresses a message on behalf of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, okay? So if he expresses a message on behalf of Allah, the question is, what is the difference between a hadith Qudsi and the Quran now? Aren't they both from Allah?
Yeah.
They are. So then what's the difference?
One is from the Book of Allah.
One is from the Book of Allah, the other is what?
From the heavens.
From the heavens. They're both from the heavens. What else?
One difference would be it's not Quran in the preserved tablet of the hadith Qudsi is not, because it's not part of the Quran.
What else? What is the difference between a hadith Qudsi and the Quran if both of them are from Allah?
Quran you can read in thought.
Very good. Okay. The Quran is muta'abbad bitilawatihi, right? You can read it and you're rewarded for it, right? Because the Prophet ﷺ said that لا أقول ألف لام ميم حرف, right? ولكن ألف حرف لام حرف ميم حرف, right? For every harf you get 10 hasana. When you read the Quran, 10 good deeds. However, that is not the case for hadith Qudsi. There is no hadith, right, that says you will get rewarded if you recite a hadith Qudsi like you recite the Quran. What else?
You cannot change the words of the Quran.
Excellent. MashaAllah. Alright, so when you say a hadith Qudsi, you can express it by meaning, right? For example, if I haven't memorized the hadith, the wording of the hadith, I can express it by meaning. However, for the Quran, you can't express the Quran by meaning. For example, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, قُلْ هُوَ اللَّهُ أَحَدٌ. Say that Allah is ahad, alone, right? You cannot say, you cannot do ta'bir of it in the English language, express it in the English language, or change the order of the wordings, or change the order of the words in the sentence and say it's the Quran, right? The Quran stays as it is. Okay, third difference. You're missing the most glaring difference, the most obvious difference. Okay, this is a difference too. Yes, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala recited the Quran to Jibreel. Jibreel came and recited it to the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Okay, the hadith Qudsi, the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam was inspired. It's called inspiration. It's called ilham. Okay, he was inspired. The last difference. This is actually the major one. Difference between hadith Qudsi and Quran. Anyone from the sisters? The Quran is mutawatir. Mutawatir means that so many people have narrated it that there's no doubt regarding its authenticity. The hadith can be authentic and non-authentic, right? Can be authentic, can be weak, can be hasan, can be of different grades of authenticity. Whereas the Quran, there's no doubt about its authenticity, right? The person that recites the Quran in America will be the same recitation as they recite it in China, right? There's no, so many, it's been narrated by so many chains that in the entire globe it's recited in one fashion. Of course, not taking into consideration the different qira'at. Okay? So this is definition, this is a small benefit I want to start off with. The definition of a hadith Qudsi, number 1. The definition of a normal hadith, number 2. And number 3, 4 or 5 differences between a hadith Qudsi and the Quran. Yes?
So you're saying hadith Qudsi there is to be weak narrations?
Yes, some of the hadith Qudsi can be weak, right? In their authenticity. So, some can be fabricated.
Is there a limited amount of
Hadith Qudsi I've read, there are around 200. Very few. Okay? Very few. With that quick benefit, inshallah, we will enter into a small review from last week. So I hope you guys reviewed. What is wudu? What is the definition of wudu?
purification?
It's an act of purification, but a little more detail. It's an act of purification, ahsant, a little bit more. It is an act of worship. It's an act of worshipping Allah, okay? And it's by washing the 4 limbs, okay? We mentioned, don't answer this question right now, we'll get to this later inshallah. We mentioned that there are conditions of wudu. What is a condition?
Something that needs to be maintained throughout the act, before and throughout the act.
Excellent, mashallah. All right, and we mentioned that there are 6 conditions. Intention, right? What is the next one?
Purity of the water.
Purity of the water and permissibility. Next, removing anything that prevents the water from touching the body. For example, we mentioned for women,
Nail polish.
nail polish, unless it's breathable, right? For men, we mentioned for super glue, right? Anything. And now today we'll get to, in Arabic it's called al-hawa'il, right? Certain things that you have to rub over. For example, a cast, or your socks, or the khimar of women, the head covering of women, right? Or a turban, these types of things. The next condition,
Age of discernment, exactly.
age of discernment, ahsantum, very good. Next one is Islam, you have to be a Muslim. And finally, one has to purify himself from using the restroom before doing wudu. If he doesn't, right, his wudu is invalid. And if he does, what are the 2 types of purification we mentioned? No, that's istinja and istijmar. Very good. All right, so istinja is with water and istijmar is with anything besides water, such as toilet paper. Right? If someone uses istijmar, what are the conditions? He has to wipe himself a minimum of 3 times. Ahsantum. The pillars, what is the definition of a pillar?
An act kept out intentionally, or if not done intentionally or unintentionally, the wudu is not valid.
Very good. MashaAllah, you reviewed. And washing the face is the first one. All right, and we said washing the face includes rinsing the mouth and sniffing water up the nose. Okay. Next one is washing the arms till where? Elbow, including the elbows, right? And then we said wiping the head. How much of the head do you have to wipe? Very good. The front to the back, all right? And that includes what? Inner and outer ears, all right? Because of the hadith of the Prophet ﷺ, al-udhunani min al-ra's, right? The ears are part of the head, okay? And this is the dalil for the fuqaha that say, or the scholars that say, that the ears are part of the head. Washing the feet is the next one. Till where do you have to wash the feet? Up to and including the ankles. Ahsantum. And the next pillar is? All of these have to be performed in order. Okay? You cannot mix up the order between these 4. Alright? Yes? Question? No, the sister behind you. Any question? Okay. Performing the pillars in order. And finally, the last one we mentioned was al-muwala. What is muwala?
That you can't follow the next step while you're still do the act before that's still wet.
Okay, so you have the concept. That's good. All right. Performing the actions continuously in such a fashion that the previous body part does not dry before washing the next body part. In normal weather conditions. So if you, the question I asked you all last time, if you wash your arms and then you wipe them off with a towel and then immediately you do masa on the head, is your wudu valid?
Yeah.
Yes, your wudu is valid. Very good. An obligatory action. Someone from the sister side. What is the definition? What is the definition of an obligatory action? It's an action that if it's left out intentionally.
And it's not valid. And if it's left out forgetfully, the wudu is still valid.
Okay, very good, mashallah. The first, we mentioned there were two. Number one, saying Bismillah. Okay. And this is a minority qawl. Majority of scholars say you don't have to say Bismillah. Right? If someone leaves it out even intentionally, then his wudu is valid. Right? And the second one we said was washing the hands 3 times. But then we said this was only in a very specific scenario. This is when he wakes up from a nocturnal sleep in the night. Okay? That invalidates his wudu. Clear? If he sleeps during the day and then wakes up, does he have to wash his hands? No. If he sleeps during the night but he doesn't break his wudu in the sleep, does he have to wash his hands? No. Alright? So when does he break his wudu? In the night sleep? Deep sleep and sleeping while lying down. Right? Laying down. Or leaning. Leaning is another position. Okay? Yes?
So washing the hands is not considered one of the pillars of wudu?
No, it's not a pillar. It's an obligatory action. Okay? But again, washing the hand only in this scenario, not in all scenarios, right? And then we mentioned recommended actions. We said the siwak, all right? And that's before gargling, you use the siwak. Second is performing the order within one pillar, right? Within one pillar. Meaning if you're washing your arms, you wash your right one before you wash your left one, all right? But if you reverse it and you wash your left one before your right one, it's valid, but it's not it's not the sunnah, okay? Takhleel of thick facial hair and fingers. What did we say takhleel was? Exactly. Take your wet fingers and go through your beard. All right. If it's very thick, right? What is the definition of thick? You can't see the skin beneath it. Okay. If it's thin, you can see the skin. Then what do you have to do?
Wash the beard.
Very good. You must wash the beard and then you must wash the skin. 3 times we said is also washing each limb 3 times except for one. What is it? Wiping the head. Ahsant. Except for? Who said it's sunnah to do it 3 times? Shafi. Okay. Imam Shafi. استحب مسح الرأس 3 مرات. Next one, supplication after wudu. Right? And finally, washing the hands. Okay, when we say washing the hands now, meaning in a scenario that his wudu does not break. Okay? And now, next slide we went over last time, minor state of impurity. Minor state of impurity. We mentioned that now we talk about the nullifiers of wudu. Those things that break a person's wudu. Okay? And we said, number 1, anything that comes out of the private parts. Anything. Right? Even if a person has a kidney stone that comes out, it invalidates his wudu. Okay? Number 2, a lot of impurity that comes out of any place from the body besides the private parts. For example, he bleeds, right, on his arm and a lot of blood comes out. What is the definition of a lot? Very good. It depends on the person, whether he considers it to be a lot or not. Okay? Third one, loss of consciousness, except for light sleeping while standing or sitting. All right? So if he goes into a deep sleep, no matter what position he's in, his wudu will break. Okay? And how did we define a deep sleep? What is the definition?
If they don't know what's going on.
Yeah, they don't know what's going on. Yeah, they're oblivious to their surroundings. Okay, they can't hear anything. Right? And light sleep is when he can hear the surroundings around him, what's going on. All right, he's aware, he's cognizant of what's going on. Eating camel meat, all right, even if it's uncooked, and we said it only refers to the meat and not to the other parts of the camel, such as the fat or such as the liver, all right, or whatnot. And we said this is from the Hanbali madhab and most of the scholars of hadith. Hanbali wa ammatu ahli al-hadith. Next one. What is the next one? Anyone? Very good. Touching the private part. With or without a barrier? Without a barrier. Yes. What if you touch it with your arm?
Okay, handle up to the wrist.
It's meaning it breaks wudu? No. It says with the hand. Only with the hand. Right? Only with the hand. Okay? And this is again majority of scholars. They say this. Okay? Next, a man or woman touching the opposite gender with desire. This is qawl of Imam Malik and Imam Ahmad. Right? And Imam Shafi said simply touching the opposite gender breaks your wudu, regardless of whether it's with desire or not. Right? And Abu Hanifa rahimahullah said that it does not break your wudu at all. And then we mentioned last time the adillah for all of them, all of their proofs we mentioned. Right? And when we say touching the opposite gender with desire, whose wudu breaks? The one touching or the one touched? The one touching. Very good. Okay. Any questions so far? Okay, next one, washing a dead body. It breaks the wudu of the one that is washing only, and not the person that's pouring the water or helping in the cleaning process or whatnot. Only the person that touches and washes the body. And the sister, I remember one of the sisters, she asked a question last time, that if you touch a dead body, does it break your wudu? And the answer is no, it does not. It refers to only washing. And finally, leaving Islam. وَالْعِيَاذُ بِاللَّهِ. Right? We mentioned this rule: whoever has doubt concerning purification or impurity, he goes with what? Whatever he is certain with. Okay? Can you give me a scenario? Anyone? Let's apply this principle. Can you give me a scenario? Yeah.
And you're not sure if you broke your wudu, then you're certain about breaking the wudu, and you had a little there, so you go with having wudu.
Okay, very good. Ahsant. Okay. This is a good example. This example we mentioned. So what is forbidden in the state of Muslim in the state of impurity? For a Muslim in the state of impurity, right, minor state. Number one, we said prayer. Who says prayer is forbidden? Anyone from the sister side? Who says that prayer is forbidden in the state of impurity? Yes. Who amongst the scholars says this?
One of the four.
One of the four? This is a trick question. Come on. This is an easy question. This is ijma'. All scholars say this. There's no khilaf. There's no difference of opinion. No scholar says that you can pray without impurity. Or under normal conditions, right? There is a mas'ala that comes in the books of fiqh, that if a person cannot use water, nor does he have tayammum, how should he pray then? He has nothing. He doesn't have water, right, to do wudu with, nor does he have dirt to do tayammum with. And we call this in Arabic mas'alatu faqid tahurain, right? Both of the objects for cleaning himself are missing, right? Because we mentioned that hadath can be removed through two ways, either water or through dirt. So the fuqaha, they say at this point he should just pray how he is. Okay? And he should say the bare minimum things in salah. Only the bare minimum. For example, Subhana Rabbiyal A'la, it's recommended to say 3 times, but he should only say it once. Okay? The next thing is tawaf. Tawaf is forbidden on a Muslim when he is in the state of minor impurity. What type of tawaf? Obligatory or voluntary? Both. Very good. Both types of tawaf. And finally, touching the mushaf without a barrier. Okay? What if you touch the mushaf in your phone without a barrier? Without wudu? The screen is considered a barrier according to fuqaha. Okay? What about touching books of tafseer? Are you allowed to do this? Okay, all books of tafseer have Quran in it.
In English, you can touch it. Arabic also in there.
Something how much of it that has the whole thing?
Yeah, how much? If it's English, there's no ishkal, right? Because it's not considered the Quran at that point. It's a translation of the Quran, right? And the brother mentioned it very well. He said that it depends on how much of the Quran, right? If it's an entire Quran and on the hawashi, they say, right, on the sides, the Arabic is written, the tafsir, then you cannot touch it, right? Because just like you're touching the mushaf, the entire mushaf, right? But if it's in separate parts, then you can touch it. And we mentioned that in some communities around the Muslim world, they have the mushaf is divided into 30 parts, right? They call it paras in Urdu, right? So are you allowed to touch those if you don't have wudu? Anyone? Yes?
Isn't there a khilaf in that? Because some say you can't touch it because it's not a complete.
Okay, so the madhab, right? The Hanbali madhab says you cannot touch it. Because it says just like touching the original, right? All it is broken up. The Maliki madhab says that you can touch it for the purpose of learning or teaching. Okay? It doesn't matter. It can be 30 or it can be broken up. It's not the complete Quran. It can be broken up in parts of 3, 10, 10, 10, or parts of 6, 5, 5, 5, 5, 5, 5, right? Or it can be 30, right? Anyone, as long as it's divided. Okay, yes?
I'm not sure if you answered this last time, but if you are one of those people who's sick and have the bag.
Yeah, what is it called in English? What is it called? Colostomy? Colostomy? I think.
You have that done.
Yeah, like their waist comes out of around their abdomen area in a bag.
You always have that.
So his default is that he's always not in a state of wudu. So when he prays, he just does wudu and he prays for that prayer. And when he makes wudu, he makes it with the intention of making him, quote unquote, eligible to pray this prayer. Alright? Not to remove the state of hadath. Right? Because najasa is always coming out of him. Right? Impurity is always coming out of him. So his hadath cannot be removed. Clear? With that, inshallah, we will start today's lesson. And I'll mention right now that today's lesson is about ghusl. So, as it is a part of our religion and obligatory on all of us to learn it, yes.
Regarding the menstruating woman, if she is on during that time, the month for her, she's not able to make wudu that is valid. But does that mean she should still do the actions of wudu even after using the restroom? Or
She does not need wudu for anything while she is menstruating.
Okay, so
She's not allowed to pray. She's not allowed to fast. And many of the scholars say that she's not even allowed to recite the Quran.
But even
And touching the mushaf, again, she's not allowed to do that.
But reading the English version, she wouldn't need wudu.
She doesn't need wudu for that. Yeah, she does not need wudu for that. Okay? طيب. بسم الله. الغسل First of all, we will start off with the definition of ghusl. The definition of ghusl is to use pure water on the entire body in a very specific manner. This is the definition. To use pure water, ma'un tahur, on the entire body in a very specific fashion. How many brothers and sisters here have studied Arabic? No Arabic. You have studied Arabic?
No, no Arabic.
You know Arabic?
No, I'm saying N-O Arabic.
Oh, no, K-N-O-W, not no Arabic. Right? Anyone besides you? Okay, mashallah. So if I say any Arabic term that if you do not know, please ask, okay, so I can clarify it. Have we gotten the definition down? So the ghusl has certain rulings associated to it, okay? The first, we're going to talk about the pillars of ghusl. And the pillars of ghusl are just like the pillars of wudu. If you leave any one of them out, the ghusl is invalid, regardless of whether you leave it out intentionally or unintentionally. Okay? And the pillar of ghusl, brothers and sisters, is only one pillar. And that is to cover the entire body with water, along with swirling and sniffing the water. This is the only pillar. Okay? Meaning you have to do ta'meem of the badan bil ma. You have to cover the entire, you have to pour water on the entire body. Okay? Everywhere. Your armpits, between your legs, your hair, your ears, under your earlobes, inside of your belly button, all of this. The private parts, yes.
Just one.
Just once. Just once.
And did that cover everything and get it completely wet, or just one throw
No. You have to wet the entire body. Wet the entire body. Okay? And that includes al-madmada wal-istinshaq. Al-madmada is to pour water inside of your mouth, put water inside of your mouth and then swirl it around, right? And istinshaq is to put it in your nose and then sniff it up. Okay? Okay. The obligatory actions of ghusl are those actions that if a person leaves unintentionally, he is forgiven. It's okay. His wudu, his ghusl is valid. But if he leaves it intentionally, then his ghusl is invalid. Okay? And it is only one obligatory action, and that is to say Bismillah. And why did the fuqaha say Bismillah over here is obligatory? لأنهم قاسوا الغسل, right, على الوضوء. Because they did qiyas of ghusl on wudu. They say just like in wudu you have to say Bismillah, ghusl is a major type of purification, so you have to say Bismillah in ghusl also.
What would be an example of leaving it out intentionally? Because I don't think anyone would try to not do it if they are aware that they should be doing this action.
Maybe, I mean, sometimes when you, the reason, okay, when we study fiqh, right, we always set parameters by defining things, right? That is the first step. Always look for the definition first, all right? After you look for the definition, look for dawabit. In Arabic they call it dawabit. In English it would be like criteria or descriptions, right, that go under the definition, okay? And then you mention examples that fit under these scenarios or these dawabit, okay? Sometimes the fuqaha, they'll mention examples just to help you understand these dawabit or these criterias. Not necessarily that it might happen, right? Like there's some things that they mention in the bab of ghusl, it just blows your mind. It's like, is this even possible, right? Right? But they mention it, why? So they can train you. They can train your mind to understand these dawabit, and that you're able to apply in all scenarios in life. Yes?
So if you're in the restroom, would you say it in your heart, or would you say it out?
Just say it softly. It's fine, yeah. You can say it softly, yeah.
So intention is not.
We will get to intention, inshallah. Yes, we will get to intention. So saying Bismillah, like the sister asked, I mean, I don't know, if someone is, he just says, I know I'm supposed to say Bismillah, but I don't want to say it, right? Hypothetically, again, we're talking, obviously, a Muslim, if he knows he's supposed to say it, he will not leave it, right? The next part are the conditions of ghusl. A condition, dear brothers and sisters, is anything that comes before an action and must continue throughout the action till the end of the action. If any one of these conditions are missing, the ghusl is invalid. Okay, and he must repeat his ghusl. And subhanAllah, learning knowledge is so important. I remember before I went to Medina, right? I remember I met a brother in Masjid Hamza, and we just, I don't know, it was a brother I'd seen for the first time inside of the masjid, and we had just started talking, and somehow the topic came to the topic of purification, right? We started talking about fiqh, right? And he didn't know what ghusl was. He has married and 3 children, but he knew what wudu was. And when I explained it to him, he said, I didn't know this. So I was thinking in my head, subhanAllah, all these salawat you've prayed without ghusl. Right? Such an important thing. It's such a basic concept in our religion. Right? And it's obligatory for us to know it. It's wajib. This is from that level of knowledge which is wajib on everyone to know. Right? There are other levels of knowledge, inheritance, fiqh of financial dealings and all things. That's not obligatory for everyone to know, right? Some people amongst the ummah can know it and it suffices other people. It's called fard kifaya, right? But certain level of knowledge is wajib on every Muslim to know. How can you pray your most basic thing inside of your religion if you don't know how to do ghusl? If you didn't do ghusl, your wudu, you don't have wudu. And if you don't have wudu, your prayer is batil bi ijma', right? So I'm trying to highlight the importance of just understanding the basics in our religion.
How can you do it with somebody who doesn't have access to this class? Like, what are the other sources that you can actually read? You're reading it correctly.
Well, it doesn't have to be this class. I mean,
That's what I'm asking.
There are so many things online. There are so many resources available. There are classes available on. Look at Mishka Academy, right? Other academy, Aris Academy, I think that used to be here before. Right? I personally, before I went to Medina, I used to search for things online, alim course or these type of things, right? And there's so many books translated in English now, right?
Which are authentic that you can read.
Yeah, Fiqh Sunnah, for example, right? Fiqh Sunnah is not necessarily on a madhab, right? But now books of madhahib are starting to be translated. Nur al-Idah is translated. Mukhtasar al-Quduri, Hanafi books, right? These are translated, right? So there's no dearth of knowledge in our time, I feel like, right? There's plenty of knowledge, right? But we, in our hearts, have to search for it, right? That is the issue. It comes to the issue of the heart. The heart of the matter is the matter of the heart. What is it? The heart of the matter is the matter of the heart.
I have a question about that because when you're searching for knowledge, you don't necessarily know which one is authentic or not, or which one is the credible source. Like, I was asking about the hand washing because I remember going to madrasa school when I was younger.
Yes.
And they said that the hand washing was part of the act of wudu.
Yes.
And washing the neck was part of it. So I learned that from going to the masjid. So not necessarily every source you learn from is going to teach you what is supposed to be the correct way. So how do you know which resource is the best one to reach out to?
Sahih. So, I mean, I learned these things too, honestly, right? When I went to madrasa when I was young, there was a book called Ta'lim al-Haqq, right? You guys have heard about it? Right? I studied in Madrasa Islamiyya, right? So they taught us these things. In Pakistan, they have all this. I was taught the opinion of wiping on the... We talked about the opinion of wiping on the neck, right? You cannot just say it's bid'ah. Some fuqaha said it's okay. The Hanafi fuqaha said it's okay, right? So, I don't know, that is at the end of the day, that is a ishkaliyah. That is a problem in our times, right? There are so many people that are speaking, right? You don't know who's saying the right thing and who's saying the wrong thing, right? So I would say go to people that, have some credibility in the sense that they have graduated from an institution that is recognized, or other scholars have praised them, right? And said, go seek knowledge from this person because he knows his religion and he will teach you something that is correct, right? And if you really don't know who you're taking knowledge from, the qawl of Ibn Sirin comes to mind, right? He said, be careful of who you're taking knowledge from because this knowledge is your religion at the end of the day, right? And you're going to worship Allah with this. So I would say that these are the criteria. But as you grow as a student, right? And this is a part of being a student, right? And part of being on this path. That as you grow as a student, right? You'll realize sometimes in the beginning stages of knowledge, you'll realize that, okay, what I learned isn't correct. I need to change it, right? And then the more you progress, right? The more aqwal you read, the more, you read of the scholars, then you realize that, what? They had a wajh. For example, personally, right? When I first went to Medina, I really had, to say the least, negative connotation toward the Hanafi madhab, right? I was like, what are these guys, right? They're so strict and, the whole, right, 9 yards, right? But then the more I read about Hanafi madhab, I was like, this is a very strong madhab. Their aqwal are just mind-blowing, right? The way they think and they look at, the textual texts, it's just, unparalleled. And there's a funny, picture that you have 4 people that are debating, 3 are on one side and 1 is on by himself. And the 3 are the Jumhur and the 1 is the Hanafi. They're trying to convince the Hanafi, right? So that's part of being a student, right? As you progress, you will realize the right from the wrong. But in the beginning, I would say that take knowledge from those people that have established themselves, that are reputable in the community, and or that our students have graduated from institutions, right? And you can feel like that, inshallah, they will give you something beneficial, right? Because sometimes the issue comes in this country is that, yes, you have people that are knowledgeable, right? But they can't necessarily speak the language very well. That is also an issue, right? So the shabab, the youth, they don't go to these, even though they're knowledgeable, right? We're not denying their level of knowledge, right? But the shabab won't go to them because they can't communicate with them, right? And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, وَمَا أَرْسَلْنَا مِن رَسُولٍ إِلَّا بِلِسَانِ قَوْمِهِ. We never sent a messenger except in the tongue of his nation, meaning he was able to address his nation properly, right? That's not to take anything away from their knowledge. They are knowledgeable, right? Without a doubt. Does that answer your question? Okay. So going back to the conditions, the first condition is just like the conditions of wudu. All the conditions of wudu, they apply to the conditions of ghusl. All of them. So how many conditions were there? There were 6 conditions, right? All of them, or 6 or 9? 6, yes, 6, right? Yes, 6. So all of them, they apply to ghusl also. Okay, if any one of these conditions are missing, then ghusl is invalid. Now we're going to specifically talk about the intention in ghusl. What do you have to intend? The intention for ghusl is a little bit different from the intention in wudu. In wudu, we said that you can make 3 types of intentions. You can make the intention to remove the state of minor hadath, number 1. You can make an intention to do wudu for an action that requires wudu, such as prayer. And you can make an intention, the third is to make an intention to do wudu for an action for which wudu is mustahab, or recommended, such as eating or sleeping or after anger, right? Cool down anger, or to recite the Quran, right? All these things wudu is mustahab. Recite, not touch. Okay? So, but in ghusl the intention is different. And in ghusl you can make 3 types of intentions. The first intention is you intend to remove both types of hadath. Hadath minor and major, right? Minor requires, brothers and sisters, wudu. Major requires? Very good. All right. So when you make an intention, the first type of intention you can make in ghusl is to remove both states of hadath, major and minor. And if you make this intention, you do not have to do wudu afterwards. Okay? You can pray with this ghusl. All the things that you needed to do with wudu, that you could only do with wudu, now you can do them with ghusl also. Okay? So this is a benefit. The second type of intention you can make, brothers and sisters, is to intend to lift the state of hadath completely. You don't specify major or minor. You just say, I'm going to completely lift the state of hadath. And this has the same ruling as the first one. Right? You don't have to do wudu afterwards. You can pray, touch the Quran, do tawaf with this ghusl. Okay? The third is you intend to lift the state of major hadath only. And in this scenario, only major hadath is removed and you have to do wudu afterwards. Do you see the difference? Okay. Yes.
So do you have to have exact intention? Like, is it like obligatory for the exact intention, or just general?
What do you mean by exact?
The intentions that you mentioned, like there's 3 different that you mentioned.
Yes.
You just, the obligatory is just you just have to intend to do ghusl, or do you have to pick one of the 3?
Pick one of the 3.
You have to do that.
Yes. Pick one of the 3 in the sense that you're doing ghusl to remove hadath. Right? Why are you doing ghusl?
Just to...
because ghusl, some people can do ghusl to cool their body down too. After exercise. Right? Ghusl is an act of worship. Remember this. Acts of worship require intentions. Right? An act of worship requires a normal everyday activity. Does not require an intention. Sleeping does not require intention. Eating does not require intention. But if you make an intention, it can become an act of worship. But so you see the difference now? Normal everyday activities are valid without intentions. But they can become acts of worship if you make an intention. However, acts of worship are invalid without intentions. You see the difference? The contrast? Let me know if I need to write it down. I'll write it down, inshallah. Yes?
So I remember a few sessions back you were talking about intention, and it was something like that it's not required.
Yes.
So does that apply in this case?
I don't know. For ghusl, I would have to check. But for wudu, they say it's not required. Okay? And the reason I would have to check for ghusl is because in ghusl, you simply pour water over your body. So there's some resemblance to just cooling your body down, right? Whereas in wudu, no one cools their body down by washing their face first and then washing their arms and then doing masa on their head and then washing. No one cools their body down like this. It's a very specific order of events, right? And they say because of this order of events, you don't need to have niyyah, which is a strong point from their behalf, right? But for ghusl, it's not the same. Because all you have to say do is say Bismillah and pour water over your entire body. That's it.
So when you're doing wudu, you can, even if you are not in a state of hadath.
Wudu or ghusl?
Wudu.
Yeah.
If you're not in a state of hadath, you can do wudu.
Yes. Yes. Yeah.
Can you do that with ghusl too?
Huh?
Can you do that with ghusl too?
No. No. Because wudu, if you're already in a state of wudu, and you do wudu again, you're doing it for renewing your wudu, right? Ghusl is only used to remove a state, right? As an act of worship. Right? It's only used to remove the state of janaba, all right? This is an Arabic term now, all right? So we said major hadath is a major state of impurity, right? It is janaba. In Arabic, it's called janaba, all right? As another word. Janaba means that he's junub in the sense that the word comes in the Quran, right? Junub meaning he has entered a state after, for example, being intimate, right? This is called the state of janaba. Okay? I'll explain it inshallah in the upcoming slides. They've recommended action, yes?
Sorry. So, like being so specific about the intention, I feel like that's very like, how many people would know that? It seems very like difficult to let that so many people would know that to make it like, to make it required. But I don't know.
But the Prophet ﷺ said, إِنَّمَا الْأَعْمَالُ بِالنِّيَّاتِ. Actions are only by intention. إِنَّمَا الْحَصْرِ.
I'm just commenting. Like
I don't know. If the Hanafi qawl says that you can do it without intention, you have to go back in those books and look, right? Then you can take the Hanafi qawl. ما في إشكال. There's no problem.
Because going back to the Ta'lim al-Fatwa that you mentioned.
Did they mention it over there?
Well, I don't remember that specifically, but I know they mentioned like the specific that you have to first do wudu, like in ghusl, you first do wudu.
I'll go over that. Okay, I'll go over that. How to do ghusl, the bare minimum, and the sunnah method of doing it. Okay, and we'll go over the wudu part too, inshallah. Right? They recommended actions: washing the hands 3 times in the beginning of wudu, in the beginning of ghusl. Okay, this is the first one. Second one, washing the soiled area separately, right? Meaning when we say separately, not as part of pouring water on the entire body, right? And what do we mean by soiled area, right? For example, we'll take the next slide. After intimacy, right, where there is, bodily fluids, then you wash that area. Number 3, performing wudu before ghusl. And this is what the sister was asking. When we say before ghusl, we mean in the beginning of ghusl. This is sunnah action. So if you don't perform wudu, then your ghusl is valid. Okay. Number 4, beginning from the right side. When pouring water on your body, you begin from the right side and you go leftwards. Okay. Number 5, rubbing the entire body. In Arabic it is called ad-dalk. Ad-dalk, right? Patting the body down when you pour water on it, like this. Right? Ad-dalk? ما في إشكال أكتب لك. Right? It's called ad-dalk. Ad-dalk. Okay. The next one is to pour water over the head 3 times. Next, to wash the feet in another place. After completing the ghusl, you just step over and wash the feet in another area. Alright? And because the Prophet ﷺ used to do this at the end of his ghusl. Washing the feet in another place. Okay? Now I'm going to go over the bare minimum and the sunnah method. Alright? So there's the bare minimum. Right? And then the sunnah. Sunnah method is much longer. Okay? The bare minimum method is short. The bare minimum method is that someone makes the intention from the intentions we mentioned, number 1. Number 2, he says Bismillah. And number 3, he pours water over the entire body. He pours water over the entire body. Okay? Pours water over the entire body. And when we say pours water over the entire body, that includes what? Huh? Mouth and nose. Very good. Okay? That includes the mouth and the nose.
So those, it makes intention to say Bismillah and pour water over your body?
Yes.
Just 3?
Just 3 things. That's the bare minimum. And when we say pour water on the entire body, it has to be mouth and nose. And it doesn't have to be in any order, right? It doesn't have to be in any order. Unlike wudu, tartib is a shart, performing the action in order, but in ghusl, performing the action in order is not a shart, except for the niyyah and the bismillah. Those have to come in the beginning, right? The niyyah intention comes before, then you say bismillah. Those two have to be in order. But for the third one, pouring water on the entire body and putting water in the mouth and nose, it doesn't have to be in order. He can do it in any fashion. He can wash his mouth and nose first, and then pour water over the entire body. Or he can pour water over the entire body, and then wash his mouth and nose. Or he can put water in his nose first, pour water over his entire body, then wash his mouth. All these are valid. These are all bare minimum. This is the bare minimum method of doing ghusl. Okay? The sunnah method. Number one, he makes the niyyah. Okay? Number one, he makes the niyyah from the niyat or the intentions that we mentioned. Number two, he says Bismillah. Number three, he washes his hands 3 times. يغسل يديه 3 مرات يصب بيمينه على شماله ويغسل يديه. Right? He uses his right hand to pour water over his left hand, right? Wash his hands 3 times. What does that mean 3 times? Does he have to turn off the knob to, No. He just put it under the water 3 times, that's it. Or just 3 times, right?
So, 3 times meaning obviously we use the ones.
Yeah.
So, just maybe longer, or you have to, come back and forth?
I mean, I guess when you do it like this, it's once. You don't even have to take it out of the water, right? 2 and then 3. Right. Whatever you would consider 3, right? And again, this is all narrated from the Prophet ﷺ. This is based on the hadith of the Prophet ﷺ. Okay? And then he should wash the soiled area. This is step number 4. Soiled area in which he has bodily fluids. Okay. And then some of the fuqaha say he should use his hands and basically touch them on a wall, simply because the Prophet ﷺ did this. All right? There's no ta'leel or reasoning I can think of this, right? Some of the fuqaha, they say you should put, like the wall, you should just pat your hands on the wall, right? Maybe he did this because the bathrooms back then were made out of dirt and sand, so he washed his hands, I guess. I don't know. But this is how it comes in the hadith of Maymuna. Okay? After this step, he does a complete wudu. And what niyyah does he make for this wudu? Huh?
Just that same one.
He cannot make wudu is not done for ghusl. You cannot remove the minor before removing the major.
You don't have to make it.
And then there's not
The niyyah is intention. And niyyah is a shart. Huh? But that niyyah, okay, that could be one, yes. Because when he made the niyyah in the beginning, he's removing hadath completely, major and minor. Right? Or he can make the niyyah that I'm just following the sunnah. Right? This wudu is to follow the sunnah, not necessarily to remove the hadath. Okay? Fiqh riddles. Right? After this step, after performing wudu completely, he pours water on his head 3 times. And again, going back to the sister's comment that it can be 3 times however he sees, right? Maybe rubbing his head 3 times. No. If a woman's hair is braided, does she have to unbraid her hair? She does not. As long as she can make sure that the water goes to the roots, meaning the scalp, right? It goes to the scalp. She does not have to unbraid her hair. as opposed to when she takes a bath from menstruation and postnatal bleeding. In that case, she has to unbraid her hair. Clear?
Can you repeat the second point?
Which point? So he pours water on his head 3 times. Okay. After this point, we have 2 more points. That's it. The first one is he pours water on his entire body beginning from his right side.
This is after the 3 times or during?
After the 3 times. After the 3 times. Pours water on his entire body beginning from his right side. At-tayamun, right? To begin from your right side. And the last point is he moves to another place and washes his feet. Right? Because the Prophet ﷺ used to do this. Some of the fuqaha, they say this is mu'allal. Alright? They say the reasoning for this is because the bathroom used to be made out of sand. So the Prophet ﷺ would move to a different place to wash off the sand. And some of the fuqaha, the scholars, say no, this is ta'abbudi, because ghusl is an act of ibadah. And in acts of ibadah, we don't try to necessarily find reasoning for everything. Why do you wash your arms before doing masah in wudu? That's how it came in the ayah. Why dhuhr 4 rak'ahs? Why not 2? Some could argue it makes sense for it to be 2 because we were working during that time of the day. This is how Allah revealed, right, the religion. And the attitude of the believer is sami'na wa ata'na. Yes.
So what about like piercings, like ear piercing and nose piercing?
It's fine as if you can just make sure some water gets around the area, that's it. You don't have to take it off. But if you have a ring, you have to make sure the water gets under the ring. Right? And there's a hadith of the Prophet ﷺ in which he said, تَحْتَ كُلِّ شَعْرٍ جَنَابَةٍ. Under every hair there is janaba, meaning major hadath. So the meaning of the hadith is you have to pour water on the entirety of your body. Right? Okay. The next slide, major hadath. What are those things that necessitate ghusl? When do we know someone has to do ghusl? When do we know that someone has to do ghusl as a Muslim? Right? There are 6 things. Number 1, emission of semen. Okay? And when we say emission of semen, there's 2 scenarios. The first scenario, how it normally comes out. Okay? Right? How it normally comes out. And the second scenario is if it comes out due to sickness or due to an illness or due to extreme exertion or due to extreme cold, meaning in any manner that it does not normally come out in. In that case, ghusl is not required. It is only required in the first scenario, in the normal way it comes out. Except for a sleeping person. A sleeping person, if he wakes up and he sees wetness on his clothes, balal, they call it in Arabic, right? He sees some wetness on his clothes, then he has to perform ghusl, regardless of whether he remembers seeing a dream or not. Right? As long as he sees balal, as long as he sees wetness, he has to perform ghusl, even if he did not see even if he doesn't remember seeing a dream. And if he wakes up, he remembers seeing a dream, but he doesn't see any wetness, he does not have to perform ghusl. So the ibrah or the dabit is by seeing anything on the clothes.
Can I ask a question?
Yes.
I'm embarrassed to ask it, but
I know this bab is,
Um,
yeah, this chapter is one of those chapters, yeah.
when I was learning
Yes.
Pre-semen. So does this?
So pre-seminal fluid is called madhi in Arabic, right? It does not require ghusl, but it requires wudu. I should have put that in the chapter of wudu. Pre-seminal fluid, al-madhi, that comes out at the time of desire, it does not require ghusl, but it requires wudu. And another differentiation has to be made between the two. Al-mani, which is semen, is pure in the madhab. Pure according to a number of scholars. Right? It is pure, meaning if it gets on the clothes, you don't have to wash the clothes necessarily. Right? If semen gets on the clothes, you don't have to wash them necessarily. Whether you wash them or not, that's a different issue. Right? We're simply talking from a hypothetical and technical standpoint. Right? It is tahir, it is pure. However, madhi, pre-seminal fluid, is impure and you must wash it. Clear? The second thing that necessitates ghusl is movement of semen with desire. What that means is that if a person is aroused and he feels the semen move inside of him, but he holds himself and he prevents himself from letting it out, even in this case, ghusl is wajib on him. Okay, do you see the difference between the first and second? In the first one it came out. In the second one it did not come out, but he felt it move inside of him. And this is from the opinion of the Hanbali madhab. The majority of scholars say if the semen moves and it doesn't come out, he does not have to do ghusl. This is the Hanbali madhab, yes. This is the qawl of the Hanabila. Okay. Any questions so far? Yes.
Hanbali method says you do not have to make ghusl?
You do have to. Jamhur say you do not have to. Jamhur means majority. Okay. Jamhur in Arabic, it means majority in English. And when we say jamahir, that means vast majority. Right? Every time, take this as a rule in the Arabic language, every time you increase a letter in the word, right? الزيادة في المبنى تدل على الزيادة في المعنى, right? It causes exaggeration or a profound increase in the meaning of the word, right? Right? The next thing that necessitates ghusl is intercourse, regardless of whether there is discharge or not, and regardless of whether any contraceptives are used or not. And this necessitates ghusl on both the man and the woman, on both of them. Number 4, the acceptance of Islam from a non-Muslim. If a non-Muslim accepts Islam, then according to the Hanbali madhab, he must do ghusl. According to the other fuqaha, it is mustahab, it is recommended for him. And they base this on a number of hadith in which the Prophet ﷺ commanded, people that accepted Islam to do ghusl. Is his niyyah valid?
Yeah.
Why?
He said
He said the shahada. Very good. He said the shahada, his niyyah is valid. He's a Muslim. Iman is a condition for all acts of worship.
You said this was Hanbali and the others is recommended.
They say it's recommended, yes. Number 5, death. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says in the Quran, كُلُّ نَفْسٍ ذَائِقَةُ الْمَوْتِ. Every soul shall taste death. When a person dies, ghusl becomes wajib on him, meaning that other people have to wash him, right? They cannot just put him in the grave, unless he is a shaheed, right? Unless he is a shaheed. A shaheed means a martyr.
In that case, he's
No ghusl. Why? Because the Prophet ﷺ, when the shuhada is the plural of the word shaheed, right? When they would pass away, he would put them in the grave, right? Without giving them any ghusl whatsoever. The last one, when the menstrual blood and the postnatal bleeding, i.e. nifas is bleeding that comes from a woman after she gives birth, right? When this bleeding stops, then ghusl becomes wajib on a woman. She must do ghusl. Yes.
What are like the indications for like ending of menses?
We will talk about this inshallah. Upcoming class. We will talk about the whole chapter of menstruation and nifas in the upcoming class. What are the things that are forbidden for a Muslim in the major state of hadith? So anything, number one, anything that is forbidden in the minor state of hadith is also forbidden in the major state of hadith. And from those actions is touching the Quran. And from those actions is praying. And from those actions is doing tawaf. And when we say touching the Quran, we say touching the Quran without a barrier. Right? Without a barrier. Number two, reciting the Quran is also forbidden while a person is in the state of janaba. Okay, reciting the Quran is also forbidden while a person is in the state of major hadith. Okay, the Prophet ﷺ, nothing would stop him from reciting the Quran except the state of janaba. Okay? No, so this comes to another masala. Can you say certain ayat of the Quran that are part of your daily life? For example, when you sit inside of a car, Subhanalladhi sakharna hadha wa ma kunna lahu muqrinin, right? Can you say this dua for, yes, you can. Let's say you make dua and you say, Rabbana atina fid dunya hasana wa fil akhirati hasana wa qina adhaban nar. Yes, you can say this dua. These things are fine. But when we say recitation, is reciting the Quran, right? It's forbidden. So touching it and reciting is forbidden in the major state. In the minor state, only touching it is forbidden. And touching it without a barrier. Menstruation is a different issue. Menstruation is a different issue. We'll get to menstruation. Can a woman recite the Quran during her menses or not? Alright, we will get to this inshallah. Last one, brothers and sisters, is sitting inside of the masjid. If ghusl is a wajib on a person, he cannot sit inside of the masjid. Right? Now there are scenarios. I want you to break this down. Okay? I want you to break this down. Alright? Sitting in the masjid. Right? I want you to break it down. For men and women. Men and women. This will make it easier. Okay? The first point is passing through. He needs to pass through the masjid. He needs to get to the other side. Right? First of all, this is disliked to do. The Prophet ﷺ said, from the signs of the Day of Judgment is people will take masjid as walkways. Meaning they will enter the masjid without any intent of praying or sitting there to remember Allah. The purpose for which the masjid was built for, they will simply use it as a walkway to get to the other side. Right? Which all of us are guilty for when we go to Medina and Mecca. Right? So if we enter the masjid, we should at least pray 2 rak'ah. Alright? Tahiyyatul masjid. Right? Passing through. What is the ruling of this? It is permissible for a man. Right? And also permissible for a woman if she's in the state of janaba. Janaba, right? Not menstruation. Menstruation is different. Right? 2, sitting. So Suratul Mas'ala, picturing the scenario, a person is in the state of major impurity and he wants to sit inside of the masjid. For example, he's doing i'tikaf. And in his i'tikaf he had a wet dream while he slept at night. First of all, his i'tikaf is invalid. Okay? One of the conditions of i'tikaf is you have to be free from major impurity. Right? But let's say he just wants to sit inside of the masjid. So he can sit after he does wudu. He does wudu and then he sits. I know what you're thinking. How is wudu valid when he's in a major state of impurity? Right? He's doing wudu only to do takhfif and just to follow the sunnah. Right? Because the companions of the Prophet ﷺ, they were Ahl Suffah, they were poor. They used to live inside of the masjid, right? They didn't have homes like we did. They didn't have families. Abu Hurairah was from Ahl Suffah, right? From those people that used to live inside of the masjid. So, when they would sleep inside of the masjid, obviously they're men, right? They would have wet dreams and whatnot, right? So, they would be in the state of janaba, right? So, when they were in the state of janaba, the Prophet ﷺ would command them, do wudu and then sit inside of the masjid. It's okay. Okay? This is the same thing for a woman. Alright? 1, same. This is same. Right? We're talking about janaba now. Alright? 2, same. Now I want to make a little differentiation for women. Right? And that comes to the topic of menstruation. Now passing through. Right? If passing through it is a need, number 1, and number 2, she can make sure that none of the masjid will be soiled, right, because of the blood, then she can pass through, no problem. Number 2, sitting. This has number of scenarios. The first scenario is sitting while she is menstruating. Right? While she is menstruating, can she sit inside of the masjid? Right? And under this are 2 scenarios. The first scenario is that, for example, she cannot, she's afraid that the blood will get on the, right? Or the carpet or whatever will be soiled, right? All scholars say she's not allowed to sit. Right? All scholars say she's not allowed to sit. The second is, she is sure that no problem, nothing will get on the floor or anything, right? Now we have 2 opinions. All 4 madhahib says even then she cannot sit. 4 madhahib say she cannot sit. A group of scholars from these 4 madhahib, when I say 4 madhahib, I mean the mainstream opinion, the relied upon opinion, right? A group of scholars from these 4 madhahib, Dawood al-Zahiri, number 1, number 2, Ibn Hazm, and Al-Muzani, and some of the fuqaha, the scholars of our modern times, they give fatwa according to this fatwa that she can sit. It's okay for her to sit. Right? It's okay for her to sit. Number 2 scenario. After menstruation stops, but before ghusl. After menstruation stops and before she does ghusl, she can sit if she does wudu. Alright? She can sit when she has wudu. And the last scenario is after her menstruation stops. Why do I keep putting an X? Right? And after ghusl. She can sit by ijma', by consensus of all scholars. Yeah. No. Huh. After menstruation stops and before she does ghusl. Clear? Should I erase this? Erase it? Huh?
The last one.
Last one, after menstruation stops and after ghusl. No, that's it. That's she mentioned that this is the normal scenario, right?
The second one is.
After menstruation stops and before doing ghusl. This is after doing ghusl. This is the last.
That one is.
She can sit if she does wudu, just like this one, the men.
And then really for after ghusl?
She can sit. She doesn't have to do ghusl, wudu. Clear? Erase it. Can you say them all from your head?
Me? No, I don't.
Okay. طيب ما في إشكال. Yes.
During the time of Ramadan, then how is she able to bring the same results as everybody else if she's not even able to come to the masjid if she's not able to pray?
She's not able to pray, you're right. She is not able to fast. In fact, if she is fasting then and she starts bleeding during the day, her fast is invalid and she has to make up that day. Right? But she can do other things. There are many other things she can do. She can take the opinion of those scholars that say she can recite the Quran. Ibn Taymiyyah and Imam Malik and these, right? And she can recite the Quran. She can listen to the Quran by ijma', by consensus. Listening to the Quran is an act of worship. Right? She can do dhikr. Right? She can look in books of knowledge. All these are acts of worship. Do not restrict acts of worship just to praying and, because that's anything can become an act of worship for a Muslim. Anything can become an act of worship, right? Even your normal everyday activities, just as eating, sleeping, right, brushing your teeth, all these can become acts of worship if you make an intention before to please Allah and somehow seek the akhirah with this, right? And the woman has to realize that this is something Allah wrote for them. Right? This is not from their own ikhtiyar, from their own choice. This is something Allah destined. Right? So there's no blame on the woman whatsoever from her part. Right? Allah wrote this. Allah destined this.
Actually, what is forbidden if you follow the Arjuna, that's a worship too. Do you obey the forbidden thing? Something Allah forbade you not to do the Arjuna.
Yeah. To stay away from something that Allah has forbidden for you is also an act of worship. But you have the niyyah to please Allah. Alright? So the example I gave 2 days ago when I gave the small talk here after Taraweeh, right? If a person intends to leave alcohol because he's broke, I'm not going to drink alcohol because I'm broke, right? Is he rewarded? He's not rewarded for this. If he intends to leave alcohol because, his car is broken and he can't drive to the store and buy a bottle, is he rewarded? No, he's not rewarded for this. If he leaves alcohol for the pleasure of Allah, seeking the akhirah, because Allah says in the Quran, فَاجْتَنِبُوهُ لَعَلَّكُمْ تُفْلِحُونَ, stay away from it. Right? So he can be, only then he's rewarded. Only then, only when he seeks the pleasure of Allah. That's one point. Second point is, all goes back to intention, is if a person intends to do something haram, he intends to do something impermissible. Right? For example, a person intends to drink alcohol, right? He picks up a glass of water, right? This is the first scenario. And he imagines this is alcohol, and he drinks it. He's sinful for drinking that glass of water. Because he's doing takhayyul in his mind that I'm disobeying Allah. He has firm intention to disobey Allah. When I say intention, I mean a firm resolution, a resolve, a determination, not just a fleeting thought in the mind. Right? That's the first scenario. The second scenario is that he intends to drink alcohol, meaning he's determined to do it. Right? He goes and sits in the car, he has enough money in his wallet, right? Turns on the car, right? He's driving to Walmart and his car breaks down on the way. He didn't get to drink it. Is he sinful? He is sinful. He is. Why? Because he tried to disobey Allah, but he failed. And this is based on the hadith in which the Prophet ﷺ said, إِذَا الْتَقَى الْمُسْلِمَانِ بِسَيْفَيْهِمَا فَالْقَاتِلُ وَالْمَقْتُولُ فِي النَّارِ. If two Muslims meet each other with their swords, meaning they intend to fight each other, right? With weapons, right? Then the killer and the victim are both in hellfire. So the companions, they asked the Prophet ﷺ, the killer we understand. He killed his companion, right? He killed the other person. Why is the victim in the hellfire? He said, because he was eager to kill his companion. And he tried to kill him, even though he failed at it. Right? So this is, and then this goes back to another, if a person intends to disobey Allah, and then he leaves it, then Allah says in a hadith Qudsi, that a good deed is written for him. So intentions, they play a very important role in your life. They clarify the ruling of ghusl in the following scenarios. Are they valid or invalid? Number one, he performed ghusl and after finishing he found there was a patch of super glue on his hand that prevented water from touching the skin. Invalid. The water did not touch the skin. He performed ghusl but did not perform wudu in the beginning of ghusl. Valid. Very good. He performed ghusl with the intention of cooling himself down. Invalid. He performed ghusl by simply pouring water over his entire body after making intention for removing major hadath and saying Bismillah.
No, the hadith is removing and the bismillah should be in the beginning.
No, this is not the reason.
Nose and mouth.
Very good. The nose and the mouth. Did not wash the nose and the mouth, right? He performed, and by the way, the nose and the mouth is also according to Abu Hanifa. So be careful of this, right? For those that would like to follow the Hanafi method, it also according to Abu Hanifa.
Is it inside the ears?
No. We just wet it from the inside, right? Whatever's apparent, right? You don't have to go deep inside, right? He performed ghusl but didn't pat his body down while pouring water over himself. Valid. Ad-dalq we mentioned is from the recommended actions, right? Then now we are going to go over al-hawa'il, parts that you can wipe over. And this is a lot of people have questions about it. What are the parts that you can wipe over in wudu? Okay, and what are the conditions for these parts? Okay, when we say wiping over, all right, we mean that you can wipe over certain things that are normally washed during wudu, okay, or ghusl. Okay, certain things that are normally washed during wudu or ghusl, you can wipe over them. The default ruling in the default ruling for body parts in wudu is that they have to be washed. Okay? The default ruling in body parts of wudu and ghusl is that they have to be washed. However, sometimes a concession is given to wipe over certain body parts. Okay? And there are 5 things that a person can wipe over. 5 things. Alright, 5 things that can be wiped over. Number 1, leather and non-leather socks. So this requires some detail before we go on to the next one. A leather sock in the Arabic language is called a khuf. Okay? This is a leather sock. And this was the sock that was available during the time of the Prophet ﷺ. Right? What is a khuf made out of? A khuf is made out of animal skin. Okay, so it can be cow skin, it can be goat skin, it can be sheep skin, it can be camel skin, it can be some other animal skin, right? This is the definition of a khuf. It is made out of animal skin. Okay, and this is how they used to make socks during the time of the Prophet ﷺ. They didn't have cotton like we did, they didn't have nylon polyester, right? They had wool, right? They had wool. We'll get to wool. But this is how they used to make socks. Okay? And it was very thick. It was very thick. Okay? Now, what is the proof for wiping over a khuf? Let's talk about khuf first. Let's talk about a leather sock first, then we will talk about socks in our time and age. For example, socks that we're wearing right now. Cotton socks, right? Polyester, nylon, all these things. We'll talk about these afterwards. First, let's get khuf out of the way. Okay? First of all, what is the proof for wiping over khufs? Okay? The proof is so many that Al-Hasan al-Basri said that 70 companions narrated the permissibility of wiping over it. 70 companions. And in fact, Imam al-Tahawi rahimahullah, he says in Aqidah Tahawiyya, which you have heard about, وَنَرَى الْمَسْحَ عَلَى الْخُفَّيْنِ فِي السَّفَرِ وَالْحَضْرِ كَمَا جَاءَ فِي الْأَثَرِ. Right? We see and we hold the validity of wiping over the khuf as it has been in while one is traveling and while one is a resident, as it has been mentioned in narrations. Right? Why did he put it in his Tahawiyya, in his Aqidah book, when this is a fiqh issue? The amount of narrations good? Because during his time it became almost it became to a level of an Aqidah issue. Right? Where Ahl Sunnah, right, they would hold the permissibility of wiping over the khufs, whereas some other groups, right, they would not hold the permissibility. So this is why he put it, just to show that this is a shi'ar, right? In one, you could say a sign, right, of Ahl Sunnah. This is why he put in his Aqidah book, right? So the ruling of wiping over the khuf is permissible, without a doubt. Okay? However, it is permissible only when certain conditions are fulfilled. So write these conditions down, because the same conditions, they apply to socks in our times. There are 10 conditions. 10 conditions, okay? The first condition, 10 conditions that can be divided into two parts. Okay? Conditions associated with wiping. There are 3 conditions here. And then conditions associated with the actual material that you put on your foot, which is the khuf. But it applies to socks too. With khuf and socks. And there are 7 here. 7 conditions. If these conditions are fulfilled, you can wipe over any sock and any khuf. Okay? If these conditions are not fulfilled, you cannot wipe over it. And remember, we are still talking about the first thing that we can wipe over. There are 5 things. We're talking about the first 2, sorry. There are 3 more that will come up, right? The first condition, it has to completely cover the part that you normally wash in wudu. We're doing this one, sorry. We're doing this one right here. The first condition is that it has to completely cover the part that you normally wash in wudu, meaning it has to cover the ankles. The sock has to cover the ankles. And when we say covers the ankle, we don't mean half of the ankle, right? We mean covers all the way to the tip of the bone, where the shin starts. Okay? Condition number 2, it has to stay up by itself without being tied. Tied with a string or tied with a rope or a zipper or something of this sort. Elastic is fine. Number 3, condition number 3, we're doing these conditions right now, is that it has to be permissible for you. If you steal someone else's socks, you cannot wipe over them. Right? If you steal some, or for men, if you use socks made out of silk, you cannot wipe over them. For women, if you use socks made out of silk, you can wipe over them. Because the Prophet ﷺ allowed silk for women. And he did not allow it for men. Hadith. Just like gold. He did not allow gold for men. He allowed it for women. Am I going too fast?
No.
Okay. So what is the second condition?
Stay up by itself. Or we're at third.
We are in third condition, sorry, yes. Third condition is?
Permissible
Permissible
for you.
for you to wipe over it. And I gave 2 examples. What is the first example?
Stolen or
Huh? Not on stolen socks. Second example? Silk for men. Okay, silk for women is okay. As long as the other conditions are fulfilled. Right? And when we say, going back to the second condition is to stay up by itself, we said that if it's tied up or if it has a zipper, then it's not, you cannot wipe over it.
Are those hoofs like that?
So this is the ishkaliya that comes, right? A lot of khufs have zippers.
If only we can put it in.
Yeah. And that is the ishkal.
Stretch.
Khalas, we'll get to it afterwards, inshallah. Right? Number 4, you're able to walk on it normally and customarily. Okay, let me write these down because it's better if I write these down, right? Also, I'll just start off with 4. I'm erasing this. Start off with the 4th one. Right? Able to walk on it. Number 4. Normally. And what do we mean normally and customarily? That means you're able to walk on it and it doesn't slip off your foot when you walk on it. Number 1, that's the first point. And customarily, where you normally walk with socks, right? Some of the scholars say you normally walk indoors. No one walks outdoors with their socks. Okay? No one walks outdoors with their socks on the sidewalks, right? So you don't have to walk on the sidewalk just to test out your socks. Okay? And this is the Hanbali madhab. Right? Let's make differentiation now. The Hanafi madhab says you must walk on it for 3 miles. And if you walk on it for 3 miles and it doesn't rip, then you can wipe on it.
Walk on it, can you wear a shoe?
No.
So you first
Yes.
step off, walk for 3
Yes,
miles.
you have to test it.
Seriously?
He's like, seriously? Yes, you have to. This is the Hanafi. Sorry, this is the Hanafi.
No, it depends where you are working. You are working on this floor or you are working.
So I'll get to that. So the Hanbali, right? The Hanafi say it has to be on dirt. Normal terrain. Normal terrain. Not on sidewalk, not on asphalt, not on cement. Normal terrain as dirt. And it doesn't have to be rocky terrain. You don't have to test out the durability of your socks to their maximum extent, right? No, so Hanbali says customarily. So I'm making differentiation right now. Hanbali says customarily, right? Customarily is for us what? Indoors. We don't walk outdoors with our socks. That's fine. If it works for you, keep it. Right? Any questions here? Okay, so has everyone written this down? I want to just pause for a second. I want to go back to the first shart. I forgot something. The first condition was what? It needs to cover the entirety of the area that is normally washed. Right? Now, that brings us to a question, socks that have holes in them. Because when you have a hole in the sock, the area is not covered anymore. Right? So put this under the first condition. I'm sorry, I forgot to mention this. Hanbali, it is not allowed. And as soon as your sock has a hole in it, your wudu is invalid, you need to go do wudu again. Hanafi, it is okay if the hole is small. And what do we mean by small? Meaning 3 of the fingers on your foot, the toes, right? If the hole is not bigger than this, then it's okay. What I'm trying to show you, you see over here, it's a little, Hanafi is a little difficult, Hanbali is easier. Over here, Hanafi is easier, Hanbali is difficult, right? Every madhab has a bit of difficulty and a bit of ease, right? And also, by the way, the Hanafi, this Hanafi qawl is also a qawl in the Hanbali. Also, when I say qawl, it means opinion, all right? It's also opinion in the Hanbali madhab.
Small means you said 3 of your toes can push.
No, it should not be bigger than 3 of your smallest toes. Yeah. Yes, go ahead. Anyone is free to walk in, join. Right? Clear?
What about the other two?
Just leave Maliki and Shafi'i out, right? It'll just confuse you even more. Malikis are very strict in this. They say you cannot even wipe on these socks at all. Normal, everyday socks, you must wipe on khuf.
I think
Shafi'is are strict also. They say that when you pour water on it, it cannot seep through.
all the people who follow Shafi,
They do not follow Shafi'i qawl. I'll get to this qawl. What qawl they follow? What opinion they follow? None of the 4 madhahib say that you can wipe on women's stockings. None of them. None of the 4 madhahib say you can wipe on women's stockings. Be careful of this. But there are some opinions in our Islamic tradition, they say that you can wipe on women's stockings. I'll get to that. I'll get to that in a little bit. Okay. So have we covered this? Have we understood this? Okay. Do we have any questions here? None. The next condition. So this we understand this, able to walk on it normally and customarily. According to the Hanabila, normally and customarily means, as you walk on it indoors, right? And the Hanafis say it must be dirt for 3 miles. Right? You must test out your socks according to them. If it rips, you cannot walk on it.
It's okay if there's a hole in it.
If what I mean by rip, it has a huge hole. You're becoming a faqih, mashallah. All right, next condition. The khuf or must be pure. Must be made out of something pure. When we say it must be made out of something pure, it cannot be made out of something impure, such as animal skin of pig, right? Animal skin of dog, animal skin of predators, according to Hanbali madhab. It cannot be made out of this. And we're talking about the khuf now, right? And the same conditions will apply to the sock. Are you understanding? Okay. Huh? It must be halal. It must be halal. Okay. Okay. Next condition. And all of these conditions I'm giving you according to the Hanbali madhab, which is, I found personally to be the easiest of the 4 madhab. Okay. Cannot show the skin color. Up till and including the ankle. It cannot show the color of the skin on the foot up to and including the ankle. Okay? Any sock which shows the skin color, it is not permissible to wipe over. Right? And this is why I said women's stockings are not allowed according to any of the four madhahib. Why? Because even though the Hanbali is the easiest, they make this condition. And women's stockings, you can see the skin color. You can easily see the skin color. Right? You can easily see the skin color. The condition number 7, and this is the last condition. And this is similar to the first condition. All right? Not very wide. What does that mean? Meaning that it's not very wide that if you walk on it, it will fall and it will show your skin color. This condition actually goes back to the previous conditions. That loose, sorry, yes. It cannot be that loose that if you walk on it, it will fall off, or that loose that it will show the skin color beneath the sock. I mentioned there were 3 other conditions, right? Just hold off, leave some empty space for that because we will do that on the next slide. All 3 of those conditions. Okay? Is this clear? Yes.
You said wipe. How do you wipe?
I will go over that. That's from those 3 conditions. We will go over that in the next slide. Okay? Everyone got this? So can you wipe over these socks? Can you wipe over these socks? Yeah. Yes, you can wipe over these socks. All right? You cannot see the skin color. Right? For the Hanafi madhab, there is another condition that they stipulate. And that is that when you wipe over the sock, you cannot feel the wetness of the water on your skin. Okay? This is another condition on the Hanafi madhab because this is how they define a thick sock. Right? Normally, as you wipe, throw away the extra water and just wipe. We'll go over how to wipe. We'll go over how to wipe. Okay? So, right after the next slide, we're going to go through a series of pictures. Okay? And we'll just test our understanding of the socks. Okay? Because there's a lot of confusion about socks. Some are very strict. They say that you cannot wipe over anything except it's made out of wool. And your feet will, sweat to death if you wear wool in the summer. Right? And some are very lenient. And they say you can wipe over anything. By the way, the third opinion I wanted to tell you is that this is the opinion of Ibn Taymiyyah. This is the opinion of Ibn Uthaymeen. This is the opinion of Abdul Aziz al-Turayfi wa Khalid al-Musli, a number of scholars, right? They say you can wipe over any type of sock, even if it's thin and you can see the skin color beneath it.
So you follow that.
I would be wary of following that madhab. You can follow whatever madhab you want, right? I'm not going to tell you which madhab you have to follow. Any madhab you want to follow, you can follow that madhab. That's up to you. That's between you and your Lord, right? I'm simply here to clarify, right, what I've learned, inshallah, share it with you, and tell you that these are the aqwal of the ulama, right? Because at the end of the day, even if I don't tell you the third opinion, you're going to easily find it online. You're going to Google, can I wipe over sock, Islam QA's, right? Fatwa is going to come up and you're going to see it easily, right? That's not an issue, right? So I might as well tell you, right? And this is the third opinion, that you can wipe over any type of sock, right? Even if it's thin to the extent that you can see the skin color beneath it, right? However, this opinion goes against all the 4 madhahib. I will say this, right? This opinion goes against all the 4 madhahib. So if you want to err on the side of caution, then at least take the Hanbali qawl. And if you want to follow the Hanafi qawl and test out your socks, then that is up to you. Yes?
The ankle showing on socks, that's across all 3 months.
Low cuts? Yeah, I'll show you a picture of that.
That is not allowed.
That is not allowed. That is not allowed, any of them. Yes. The next thing that we can wipe over are men's turbans. Okay, men's turbans are of 3 types. I know this doesn't apply to a lot of us, but it's of 3 types. Men's turban that has a tail, all right, you can wipe over that. And men's turbans that go beneath the neck, you can wipe over this too. As for the men's turban that looks like simply a hat, all right, what we call in Urdu, topi, right? You cannot wipe over a topi. A taqiyya in Arabic, right?
That's including turbans.
There's a type of turban that you simply swirl around your head like this. It doesn't have a tail and it doesn't go beneath your neck, right? You cannot wipe over that turban. So there are 3 types of turbans. Number 1, it has a tail, right? Number 2, it goes under your neck. These 2 you can wipe over. Number 3, it simply wraps around your head like a topi or a taqiyya in Arabic. You cannot wipe over that. Clear? Number 3, this is a question. Is it permissible to wipe over the cap for men? No. Okay. Can you wipe over a baseball cap? No. Take it off. Yeah, you cannot wipe over it. Right? Number 3, the khimar, the head covering for a woman. And this is narrated on the hadith of Salama. A khimar in the Arabic language refers to the head covering. Right? But the condition is that it has to go under the neck. Right? It has to wrap around under the neck. If it's simply on the head like this, then you cannot wipe over it. Okay?
So the girls that do like the turban hijab, they can't.
Turban hijab. This is the first time I've heard of this.
The hijab that doesn't look, it's not like that. It goes down, it's just on the head, and then they wrap it behind it.
No, you cannot wipe over that.
Take it all off.
Yes, you have to take it off. If you do, and I'll mention the conditions for wiping over this, all of these things in the next slide. And finally, the last thing you can wipe over is a cast. All right? A cast is defined as anything that is put on the body that covers one of the parts of wudu or ghusl for the purpose of healing. So does a cast include an open wound with medicine on it? Yes, it does. It comes under the definition. So don't think of a cast as what we normally think of a cast, right? Something that is wrapped around, right, to fix a broken leg or no, that's not what I mean by cast here. Anything that's placed on the body, even a band-aid, right, comes under the definition of a cast. It's placed on the body for the purpose of healing. And it's on one of the body parts of wudu or ghusl. How does so I need to stop here for a second for a cast. How does a person wipe on the cast? There are 3 scenarios. Okay? There are 3 scenarios if the wound is open. Okay, so let's say someone has a wound on his arm, right? And let's say someone has a wound on his arm, and the doctor says that we need to place medication on this. Stitch it up and place medication on top of it. Okay? So, the first scenario, sister will be late a little bit just for the tafsir class. Is that okay? Okay. The first scenario is that he's able to wash this area. He must wash it. All right? If he has an open wound, it's stitched up and there's medication on his wound, he must wash it if he's able to wash it. If he is not able to wash it, then he must do masah on it. He must wipe it. Wet his hands a bit and wipe over it. Okay? If he cannot do this, right, then there's 2 things that he can do. The third scenario has 2 possible options. The first option is that he does wudu as he normally would. When he gets to this part, he does tayammum. And then he completes his wudu. Okay? The second option is that he puts a cast on it. A cast as we normally understand, right? And then he wipes on the cast. Remove the cast?
remove the cast?
It will harm him though.
No. If it is an open wound and you said that if, either do tayammum or put a cast on top of it.
Yes.
So after you've done the
Tayammum. Wiping, yes.
Can you remove it before you pray? So that safe air is supposed to get to that wound, but you covered it because you want to do the wudu.
Oh, okay. It's better if you just do the tayammum.
Okay.
Right? Because if air needs to get to it, then don't cover it. So he's only covering it to wipe it.
Yes, I thought that's
Right?
what you meant.
No, then let him do tayammum.
Okay.
So he should put the cast after washing it, or just, I mean, doing
No, the doctor will put the cast. Right? The doctor will put the cast. And actually, I'm giving you the easier qawl right now. The qawl of the Hanbali madhab is actually very difficult in this. There are like 7 scenarios in this, right? It's too much. So I'm just giving you the easier qawl, which is the qawl of the Hanafi madhab, right? Just put the cast on and wipe on it. That's it. Very simple. If you're able to wash it, you must wash it first. If you're not able to wash it, then simply wipe over it. All right? And when the doctor puts on the cast, obviously the doctor will put on the cast based on what he knows, and he will not put it more than the need, or what the need is, right? For example, if his wrist is broken, he will not unnecessarily cover his elbow. Right? Doctor will only cover the area that is required to heal the wrist. Yes?
You're doing some, if you're open when you're doing tayammum on it.
No, you don't do tayammum on it.
I mean, like, so you just said.
Just write it down. He does wudu normally. When he gets to that body part, he does tayammum.
Okay, so
And then he completes his wudu. How we do tayammum, we will talk about it in the next class. All right?
Question, what do you mean by if he's able, like if you're able to do without any pain or something?
Meaning it won't harm his wound and it will not delay his recovery. Okay? Any other question? Tayyib. Conditions for wiping. Number 1, any of the 4 or of any of the 5 things we mentioned, for him to wipe on it, he must put it in a state of purity. Meaning he must do wudu, right, before putting these things on, except for the cast. He does not have to do wudu before putting it on, because that is very difficult. Usually when someone's body part breaks, the last thing they're thinking about is, am I in a state of wudu or not? Right? They just need to put something, go to the doctor, right? Except for the cast. The cast is an exception to these 5 things. So the khimar, the covering, head covering of a woman, right? She must put it on in a state of wudu, and then she can wipe out on it, as long as it goes under the neck. By the way, in the Arabic language, hijab does not refer to head covering. This is the point of benefit, right? The word for head covering is khimar, when khumur is the plural of this, right? The word for hijab is a veil, right? Like a barrier. The Prophet ﷺ said that Allah's hijab is nur, right? Meaning the veil that is between Allah and the creation is nur. Were this hijab to be removed, the rays from Allah's face, because of their intensity, would burn the entire creation. It's authentic hadith. So if a person were to take off the sock, this invalidates his wudu. Let's say he wipes on his sock and then he takes it off. This invalidates his wudu. He must go do wudu again. And there is another opinion in the Hanbali madhab that does not invalidate.
So you cannot change the socks, if you are in the wudu, your wudu will break.
Your wudu will break, yes, your wudu will break. Unless you take the second opinion. The second opinion says it does not break. The second thing is that material stays in place and covers the entire area. I already gave you this condition before. Right? I gave you this condition before. For the sock, it must cover the entire foot, including the ankles. For the turban, it must cover what it normally covers, which is the head. It doesn't have to cover the ears. Right? It doesn't have to cover the ears. For the cast, it must be till the extent of need only. And I gave you an example of this. If someone's wrist is broken, there's no need of putting the cast all the way up to the shoulder. Right? They don't do that.
They just immobilize the area which need to be done.
That's fine. And who decides the area of need? The doctor decides it. Right? The faqih, he does not decide this. This is not his role. And finally, a woman's scarf, it must wrap under the neck. When we say under the neck, what I mean by that is under the chin. You cannot wrap it under the neck like this, right? The third condition is that wiping is only for minor hadath. You can only wipe for wudu. You cannot wipe for ghusl, except for the cast. A cast you can wipe for wudu and ghusl.
For example, there is skin disease, when you touch the water with that, it becomes worse, even if you don't have the cast. So what
Can you put cast on it?
No.
Then let him do tayammum. Wash whatever his body he can. When he gets to this part, do tayammum. There is a rule that you should know. إِذَا ضَاقَ الْأَمْرِ اتَّسَعَ. When things become difficult, the rulings in the Sharia, they become easy. The more something becomes difficult, the easier the rulings become. Right? This is part of يُرِيدُ اللَّهُ بِكُمُ الْيُسْرَ وَلَا يُرِيدُ بِكُمُ الْعُسْرَ. Allah wishes ease for you. He does not wish difficulty and hardship for you. Allah's religion is for everyone, right? So it's the fuqaha, they go to the extent, they say that salah is wajib on everyone, right? So they say if a person cannot stand up and pray, he should sit down and pray. If he cannot sit down and pray, right, he should, lie down and pray, right? If he cannot even lie down and pray, right, by moving his fingers or something, right, then he should pray with his eyelids. If he cannot even do this, then he should imagine he's praying in his heart. Right? The more difficult the situations become for human beings, the easier Allah's Sharia becomes for them. The next condition, the length of time one can wipe. For the cast, it is until the wound heals. Until the wound heals, a person can wipe on the cast, even if it's for months. Okay? For something besides a cast, such as women's head covering and socks and turbans, for the resident it is 1 day and 1 night. And for the traveler it is 3 days and 3 nights. And when is wudu is invalidated when the time ends. Okay?
Time of what?
When the time finishes, when 1 day and 1 night for the resident finishes, wudu is invalidated. Your wudu finishes. And when does the time start?
When you do the wudu.
Huh?
At the time you finish your wudu.
No, when you do the wudu. First wudu.
All of your fuqaha. Right? The time of wudu, according to the time of wiping starts after you break your wudu, after putting the socks on. So if you do wudu at 12 p.m., right? 12 p.m., right before dhuhr, right? And then you put your socks on right after doing wudu, drying your feet, and you put your socks on. And then let's say you broke your wudu 6 hours later, 6 p.m. Your time for 1 day and 1 night starts from 6 p.m. Okay? That 6 hours is in your favor. The material wiped over is pure and permissible. We talked about this. I gave you this condition before. And the last is that the area that must be wiped over. Okay? For the sock, it must be a majority of the top part of the sock. Okay? So if this is your sock right here, right? You wipe over like this. Let me just stand over here and do it. Right? So if this is your sock, right? You start from here, wipe all the way till the ankle. Above the ankle, right? Till here. Okay? And you wipe only the top. You don't wipe the bottom or the sides. If you wipe the bottom or the sides, it does not count.
So you wipe both the feet together.
You can wipe, yes, you wipe both the feet together. This is the sunnah, but if you wipe the right one before the left one or the left one before the right one, it's all fine. One time. Wiping is only once. You wipe one time. For the turban, you wipe most of the circular part of the turban. Okay, if you have a turban on your head, you wipe most of it. Right? You don't have to wipe all of it. However, for the cast, it has to be the entirety of the cast. Like it's in a circle around like this, right? Just like this. Yeah. If it's just like normal, yeah, we'll wipe most of it. Dave, now I want to give you some pictures, and I want you to tell me, is it permissible to wipe over these objects or not? Okay? The first one is this. What is this called? Khuf. Okay? According to the conditions we learned, is it permissible to wipe over or not?
No.
Why not?
Zipper.
Very good, has a zipper. Right? So this is the mushkila. This is a problem in this qawl, right? Maybe you can take the qawl of the Hanafi and they say you don't have to, it doesn't have, if it has a zipper or anything, it's not a problem. Right? Can you wipe over this? Why not? You can wipe over this. This is in Arabic called jarmuq. Jarmuq is a type of sock, a type of khuf, sorry. It's the type of khuf, right? This, I believe this is made out of leather, right? I believe it's made out of leather, right? So if it's made out of leather, it takes the same ruling as a khuf, right? So boots that are made out of leather, they cover your ankle, and they don't have zippers or strings, right? You can wipe over them. Alaikum salam. Yeah, tafadhal, go ahead. Sit. Right?
The base is not leather. The base is
No base?
leather.
Which, in what?
For the boots, the base is not leather.
This is leather, no? At the bottom?
Usually for the boot they won't put, like the sole, that's rubber. They won't put leather.
So you put leather.
Oh, okay. I don't know, I think it's fine. I don't see an issue.
Doesn't encompass shoes in general either.
No, shoes you cannot wipe over. Why? Because of the laces. Right? It's not held up by itself. Right? Because of the laces, they make the shoe and they don't cover the ankle.
Like yours.
Huh?
Well, like,
If it's without laces like mine?
Did you wipe over?
No, I didn't. Why?
angles.
It does not cover the ankle.
If it is a little higher.
Then if it's a little higher and it covers it, then yes, you can. Yeah. Tayyib. What about this? Can you wipe over this? No. Why? The ankle is not covered. Okay? So they're advertising their sock and, telling all the good points and the thing I'm thinking about is, can I wipe over it or not? So there's two. All right? Can you wipe over it? It covers half the ankle on this one. No, you cannot wipe over it. It has to cover the entirety of the ankle. Right? Can you wipe on this?
Yes.
Are you sure?
If it is a lady, no. If it is a
The sister is saying something, yes?
You can see the skin.
You can see the skin color. I feel like you can from the sides. From here on the sides. If you look close, you can see the skin color. All right? So it has to be thick enough that you cannot see any of the skin color. right? If it's thick enough that you cannot see any of the skin color, then it's okay. What about this one? This is fine. There's no problem in this, right? And you cannot see any of the skin color. It's above the ankles. There's nothing holding it up besides the elastic inside of it. This is fine, right? The picture before?
So this one, if it was just a dark color.
If it was a dark color, yes, it would be fine. Yes.
So even though you can see the skin, if it's not, you can't see it, that's fine.
Yes, this is a very good point you mentioned, right? So some of the scholars, they say that if the color, right, if because of the color the foot is hidden, the color of the skin is hidden, then it's fine. Right? Because they have to make a dhabit, they have to make a criteria. How do we know that the skin, the sock is thin enough or not? You cannot measure it by centimeters or millimeters, right? There's no way to do that, right? So the Hanafiya, they made a dhabit, they said you have to walk a certain number of miles. Right? The Hanabila, they made a dhabit, they made a criterion, they said no, the skin color is our dhabit, is our criteria. If you can see the skin color, cannot wipe over it. If you cannot see the skin color, it's okay. Right? These type of socks, can you wipe over them? Yes. What about these type of socks? Yes. These are wool type of socks, by the way. These are very thick, right? And this is the type of sock that the Sahaba used to wear. This is, I have a pair of these, right? They're very warm and they're comfy, right? This is about 70% wool. And it's okay to wipe in these. So imagine they had 100% wool, very thick socks. Okay? What is this type of turban called? Or what type of turban is this from the three types of turban? The one that goes under the chin, right? Can you wipe over it? Yes, you can wipe over this one. What about this one? This is fine too. It goes under the chin. You can wipe over this. Okay? And you don't have to remove it. Okay? What about this type of turban? Yes, it has a tail. It has a tail. We mentioned there are three types of turbans. Right? This one goes under the neck. This is the first type. It's permissible to wipe over this. The second type of turban that you can wipe over is one that has a tail. Right? This has a tail.
You don't have to stay there.
Yeah, you can wrap it around your neck, and that's up to you, right? What about this type of... can you wipe over this? No. It does not have a tail, nor does it go under your chin. Or you cannot wipe over this. What about this sheikh's topi, taqiyya? Can you wipe over it? Huh? It doesn't have a tail. Excellent. Right? You cannot wipe over it. Okay? So this mannequin right here, next slide, can you wipe over this? No. Why not? No tail? It's not going under the chin. Right? What about these? Can you wipe over these? Yes, you can wipe over them. But what is the condition? You have to wear it after a complete wudu. Right? Tayyib. Last slide, and with this we will conclude, inshallah. What is this called? A cast. Okay? How will you wash this? I have a question for you. No. Imagine that a person needs to do wudu, okay, for his prayer. How will he wipe over this cast?
All around.
Start from the beginning.
You wash all of your fingers.
First. Excellent. This is it. So when he does wudu, he has to wash has to wash the other hand first, right? As a sunnah. He has to wash his face. When he gets to the arm, this I believe is right arm, right? He has to wash the fingers and he has to wash the elbow. And then he wipes over the cast. And then he washes the left arm. He does a must hand, he washes the feet, right? So he cannot say, well, I have a cast on my arm, I'm just going to wipe over the fingers too. No, he cannot do that. He has to wipe over the finger. He has to wipe over the cast and wash the fingers, right? Because a concession in the religion is only till the place of need. It cannot extend beyond the place of need.
Can you avoid the whole hand completely in the beginning for the 3 you're washing at the
If he cannot, if he, yeah, 3 washings of the hand is sunnah. If he leaves that out, it's fine, right? While doing wudu, Zainab wiped over her leather socks, which she wore while she was in a state of hadath. Valid or invalid? Invalid. Right? Why? Because she was in a state of hadath. She was not in a state of wudu. While doing wudu, Bilal wiped over his leather socks, which had a hole which exposed the toe, according to the Hanbali method. Huh? He has a hole that exposes his toe in his socks. Not valid. According to the Hanafis, it is valid, right? As long as it is not more than 3 fingers of the smallest of your foot. Not 3 fingers of your hand, 3 fingers of your foot. Tayyib, last question, and with this, inshallah, we will conclude. Abdullah was wearing leather socks that had a large hole in them that exposed the shin. He wore these socks while he was in a state of purification. Later on, he broke his wudu, and when doing wudu again, he wiped over these socks. Why? It has a hole.
Shin is not part of area.
Very good. It's valid. The shin is not part of the area that has to be covered. Okay? I had prepared the slide for tayammum too, but we are over our time limit, so with that we will conclude, inshallah. And if anyone would like to stay for tafsir, we will do a little bit of tafsir of Surah Al-Nazi'at, and with that, inshallah, we will conclude for today. And we'll have one more class. Next class we will finish, inshallah, Fiqh of Purification. And after that, I'm thinking that we do history of fiqh. The history of fiqh over the ages, over the last 1400 years. Right? Tarikh al-Tashri'. And how did the madhahib form and all these things. Yes?
Is the next class next Saturday?
No, I think we'll have to decide.
We will send out
Yeah. Because next Saturday is Eid, and Friday is Eid, so Eid weekend. Alright, everyone wants to chill. It's fine. Okay, any other questions? No, next course. No, probably next month. And before Hajj, I want to do fiqh of Hajj and Umrah. So if anyone is going for Hajj and Umrah, they can take part in the class and understand how to perform Hajj and Umrah properly. Right? Even if you're not going, sitting and seeking knowledge is an act of worship. So this is a whole series, as I'm sure you brothers and sisters already know, right? Abdullah did salah, right? He did prayer. He already did fasting and i'tikaf, right? There are some other subjects, aqidah, that we need to do, history of fiqh, zakah with Joe, right? Umrah, all of financial transactions, and fiqh of nikah and divorce, right? And food and oaths and all these things, right? So it's entire, and then maxioms of fiqh, right? Rules in fiqh, and then usul al-fiqh. So all of these things, inshallah, we will do. Tayyib. Surah Al-Nazi'at. If you want to take a 5-minute break, we can take a 5-minute break and then start. Huh? 5-minute break? 5-minute break, yeah. Let's take like a 5-minute break. So we've been going at it for over 2 hours. Huh? Translated?
In English.
Hanbali madhab?
Any.
No, I don't want to give you any, because when you do fiqh, you have to start with the madhab.
Just one quick question. Do you need to follow one?
You don't have to follow one, right?
But it's just easier.
You can take one, but if you want to develop yourself as a student and become good in fiqh, you must study a madhab. You must. There's no other way to do it. Ask any scholar who became good, even scholars that left the madhabs completely, like Albani. He studied the Hanafi madhab before. right? Shawkani studied the madhab, all these fuqaha, they studied madhab. So just pick one just to develop yourself as a student. You don't have to stick to the madhab, right? You can follow other opinions, that's up to you, right? But to develop yourself as a student and understand how the religion works in a systematic fashion, you have to do one first.
Super humble. Could you
I'll tell you, inshallah. I'll bring you some resources next time. Just send me a text message and remind me. Take my phone number. 832 643 1296. Just send me a text message for the next class, and inshallah I'll bring some resources.
And we can buy those.
You can buy these. These are available here too. Okay, no problem. About 5. Maybe a little earlier. Huh?
Come home.
Come home. What? Okay.
I have to go.
Beginning of Surah An-Nazi'at, yes. I don't think we'll finish the whole surah. It's if you want to get a mushaf, get a mushaf, right? Get a copy of the Quran. It will make it easier for you, inshallah. Okay, let's start. Bismillah, alhamdulillah, wassalatu wassalamu ala sayyidil anbiya wa ala alihi wa sahbihi wa man wala. Surah An-Nazi'at, everyone knows where it is. Juzz Amma, the second surah, right? Surah An-Nazi'at. First, we'll just give a brief overview of the surah. Number 1, surah. If you would like to write it down, please write it down, right? Because you have to write down meanings of words, meaning of the ayah and whatnot. Surah An-Nazi'at is called Surah An-Nazi'at. Number 1, this is the first name. Second one is called Surah Al-Tamma, right? And the third name is As-Sahira. There are 3 names for Surah Al-Nazi'at. Surah Al-Nazi'at, Surah Al-Tamma, and Surah Al-Sahira, right? All of these names are taken from the surah, right? Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, وَالنَّازِعَاتِ غَرْقًا. This is where the name Surah Al-Nazi'at is taken from, okay? Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says in the same surah, فَإِذَا جَاءَتِ الطَّامَّةُ الْكُبْرَى. Right? This is where that name is taken from. And the third one is فَإِذَا هُمْ بِالسَّاهِرَةِ. Sahira refers to the surface of the earth. Okay? And this is where the third name is taken from. Surah An-Nazi'at, when was it revealed? Surah An-Nazi'at is Makki bil ijma'. Alright? It was revealed in Makkah. How do we know if a surah is Makki or Madani?
Usually small surah in Makkah.
What is the definition of a Makki surah?
About Tafseer and the Day of Judgment, and they are small surahs.
This is the content, but what is the definition?
Which are revealed
before Hijrah. They are revealed before Hijrah, right? And a Madani surah is one that is revealed after the Hijrah. Okay? This surah, it was revealed after Surah An-Naba. Okay? And the topic of this surah discusses the Day of Judgment. And it discusses those people that deny the Day of Judgment. Number 2, or you can lump that as 1. Number 2 is discusses the briefly discusses the story of Musa and Fir'aun as a consolation for the Prophet ﷺ, as a means of consoling the Prophet ﷺ. Right? This is why it discusses this surah. Okay, the number of ayat in this surah are 46. And finally, before we start the surah, Surah Nazi'at can be divided into 5 parts. Surah Nazi'at can be divided into 5 parts. So if you have a paper, if you could write these down, it will help you understand the surah. From the first ayah to the 14th ayah, it talks about the Day of Judgment. Events that will happen on the Day of Judgment. From ayah 15 to 26. 15 to what ayah? 26. It talks about the story of Musa. From ayah 27 to 33. لَفَّةُ نَظْرِ الْإِنسَانِ إِلَى خَلْقِ السَّمَاوَاتِ وَالْأَرْضِ. Looking at the creation of the heavens and the earth. From 34 to 41 is the 4th part. Events that will happen on the Day of Judgment. And finally, the last part of the surah, 42 to 46, the non-believers asking about the time of the Day of Judgment. When will it happen? This is a brief overview of the surah. Okay?
Is the first and the fourth any different? Day of Judgment and the next day?
The first one is a little bit more general. It talks about the akhirah, the hereafter. The fourth is specifically about the Day of Judgment. Okay. The first one is aslan, you're establishing the concept of the akhirah. Is there an akhirah or not? So we start off with the first ayah. وَالنَّازِعَاتِ غَرْقًا. By the way, sometimes I use translations. What translations do you find to be the best, in your opinion? What translations have you found to be helpful? Anyone? Do we read the Quran? Yes, we do, alhamdulillah. Huh?
His name exactly. There's a new one. He's in England. Halim.
Abdul Halim, yes. His translation is good. I would recommend that translation. Abdul Halim's translation is good. Alright? Another translation is good, that is Yahya Emrich's. His translation is good. And then common translations that have been out for some time are Sahih International, right? And Muhsin Khan, these translations. Right? And then classical translation, Pickthall's and Yusuf Ali's, right? But these two translations I mentioned and the one the sister mentioned, this is very good, these two translations. Okay? Then Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, وَالنَّازِعَاتِ غَرْقًا. النَّازِعَات, it says in Tafseer al-Jalalain, الْمَلَائِكَةُ تَنْزِعُ أَرْوَاحَ الْكُفَّارِ. Alright? Those angels that pull out the souls of the disbelievers. This is what Nazi'at refers to. The waw in the beginning is qasam, is Allah is swearing by these angels. Okay? So these first 5 ayat, Allah is swearing by, in each ayah, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is swearing by a different type of angel, or different category of angels. Right? And this brings us to a point. When Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala swears by something, what is the point of this swear? It's to, show, number one is to show the importance of the matter that is going to come after these oaths. Because in the Arabic language, when you have an oath, you have a qasam, you have jawabul qasam. You have a answer that comes to these oaths. Okay? So it's the first point of swearing is to stress the importance of the matter that is being discussed. Okay? And number 2, it is to highlight the significance and the status of the objects that are being sworn by. So there are 2 purposes. Right? The first one is to stress the importance of the matter. Second one is to highlight the status of those being sworn by. Okay? And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala can swear by whatever He wants in His creation. Allah swears by many things in the Quran, right? وَالْعَصْرِ وَاللَّيْلِ إِذَا يَغْشَى وَالشَّمْسِ وَضُحَاهَا, right? وَالنَّازِعَاتِ غَرْقًا. In fact, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala swears by the Prophet sallallahu alayhi wa sallam in the Quran. لَعَمْرُكَ. Allah swears by the Prophet to show his status. Right? Allah swears by the Prophet himself. إِنَّهُمْ لَفِي سَكْرَتِهِمْ يَعْمَهُونَ. This is Allah swearing by the creation. Allah can swear by whatever He wants. However, when we want to swear in order to stress the importance of a matter, we can only swear by Allah. Okay? We cannot swear by anyone else. People make the mistake of swearing by their fathers and their mothers. Right? The Quraysh, they used to swear by their fathers and mothers. By their fathers, sorry. And the Prophet ﷺ heard this and he said, لا تحلفوا بآبائكم. Don't swear by your fathers. وَمَنْ حَلَفَ بِغَيْرِ اللَّهِ فَقَدْ كَفَرَ أَوْ أَشْرَكَ. And whoever swears by other than Allah, he has committed an act of shirk or committed an act of disbelief. Does he become a mushrik or kafir? No. No, he doesn't. Very good. Alright, no, he doesn't. There's a difference between doing an act of disbelief and becoming a disbeliever. There's a difference between the two. Do not confuse the two. Okay? So when we swear only by Allah. Alright? And swearing by other than Allah is an act of, like the Prophet ﷺ said, an act of disbelief. Okay? Waw is qasam, and nazi'at refers to those angels that pull out the ruh, or the souls of the disbeliever. Gharaqa. Gharaqa is used to describe the way they pull out these souls. Yani, bishidda, with harshness. Okay? So if you were to translate the ayah, I swear by those angels who violently pull out the souls of the wicked. Okay?
Specifically the wicked. Specifically the wicked.
Any wicked,
Just any soul.
no, not any soul. Not any soul. Okay? In Jalalain it says, of the disbelievers, right? And this brings us to another point. I have to clarify this whenever we talk about this topic, right? First point we have to establish, dear brothers and sisters, that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is adil. Alright? He is just. He never does injustice to anyone. Right? He's not unjust to anyone. Inna Allah la yadhlimu an-nasa shay'a. Allah does not do injustice to anyone. Right? وَمَا رَبُّكَ بِظَلَّامٍ لِلْعَبِيدِ. Right? مَنْ جَاءَ بِالْحَسَنَةِ فَلَهُ خَيْرٌ مِّنْهَا وَمَنْ جَاءَ بِالسَّيِّئَةِ فَلَا يُجْزَى إِلَّا مِثْلَهَا وَهُمْ لَا يُظْلَمُونَ. Right? Whoever does a good deed, he'll be rewarded 10 up to 700 because of the hadith. And whoever does a bad deed, he's only going to have the reward of what he did. Right? وَهُمْ لَا يُظْلَمُونَ. They'll never be done any injustice to. So Allah is always just. Okay? This is the first point we established. The second is that when we say a disbeliever or non-Muslim, right? Allah knows who dies as disbelievers and what their ruling is in the hereafter. Okay? We cannot decide anyone's ruling in the hereafter unless the Prophet ﷺ told us. So the Prophet ﷺ told us that Abu Bakr is in Jannah, Umar is in Jannah, Uthman is in Jannah, Ali, Ashar Mubashara, right? They are all in Jannah. Because of the hadith of the Prophet ﷺ, we believe it. And the Prophet ﷺ told us that Abu Jahl is in Nar, right? Abu Lahab is in Nar. Tabbat yada Abi Lahabin wa tab, right? And certain people he mentioned are in the fire, right? Those people will believe we are in the fire because of the statement of the Prophet ﷺ. As for those people that have not been talked about in textual proofs, right, in the text, we have to stay quiet about them. We cannot judge their hereafter. Allah judges them, right? Allah judges each person's hereafter, right? Because we as human beings, when we judge, we have a deficiency in our judging, because we judge only based on what is apparent. We cannot judge the hidden, and the hidden has a major role to play in the hereafter, right? Just the other day, someone was asking me, a person who is majnoon, right? Someone who's insane, right? He has a mental illness. He cannot think rationally. How can you say he'll just go to hell? No, we cannot say that. Allah will judge him on the Day of Judgment, right? Allah judges everyone. However, in this world, yes, we have a rule. We believe, as Muslims, just like other religions believe, that only a Muslim will enter paradise. We believe this. The Prophet ﷺ clearly said this in a hadith, right? لا يدخل الجنة إلا نفس مؤمنة, a believing soul, or in another narration, إلا نفس مسلمة, right? A Muslim soul, right? All other religions, they believe in that they will, their religions are exclusive. Paradise is exclusive to their followers, and similarly, Islam says the same thing, right? But we don't apply this rule on afrad. That's what I'm trying to say. On individual people, unless the Prophet ﷺ applied it. Is it clear? Any questions? Any questions? None? Okay. Next ayah. وَالنَّاشِطَاتِ نَشْطًا. Okay. An-nashitat refers to those malaika. All of these 5 ayat in the beginning, they are talking about malaika, angels. Alright? An-nashitat refers to those angels that gently draw out the souls of the believers and God's obedient servants. Right? So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is swearing by those angels that gently pull out the soul of His believing slaves, believing servants. Third ayah, وَالسَّابِحَاتِ سَبْحًا. Okay. Again, this is another swear in which Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is swearing by those angels that glide swiftly between the heavens and the earth. Okay, so it could be referring to those angels. The Prophet ﷺ said that during the time of Fajr and Asr, the angels that are with you, they change. Right? This comes in a hadith. So it could be referring to those angels that gently glide, that swiftly glide up. Okay? And they glide up with what? With the commands of Allah. With whatever Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala decrees. The fourth ayah, وَالسَّابِقَاتِ سَبْقًا. By those angels that will race forward on the Day of Judgment. Not the Day of Judgment. By those angels that race forward to paradise with the souls of the believers. Right? They compete with one another to take the souls of the believers to Jannah. This is after death. Okay. Number 5. فَالْمُدَبِّرَاتِ أَمْرًا. الْمَلَائِكَةُ تَنْزِلُ بِالتَّدْبِيرِ مِنْ عِنْدِ اللَّهِ عَزَّ وَجَلَّ. Those angels that descend with the commandments and the decree of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Okay? Meaning whatever is going to happen in the dunya, like we know that Laylatul Qadr is what? The decree of the next, the decree of the upcoming events in the next year, they're all determined, right? So those malaika that descend with that decree or descend with that, those commandments of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, an oath is being sworn by these malaika. These 5 ayat, brothers and sisters, we mentioned that a oath has 2 parts to it. A qasam, which is the oath itself, and and you have an oath, right? When you have an oath, there's 2 parts to an oath, right? When you swear, not swear in the English language, right? That is cursing. We're not talking about that, right? We're swearing an oath. This is what we're talking about, right? When you swear an oath, there's an oath. That's the first part, and the second part is the thing that you're trying to stress or show the importance of, right? In these 5 ayat, I want to tell you that when we read these ayat, only the oath is being spoken about. The jawab or the answer to this oath is hidden. Is hidden. And has to be inferred from these ayat. This is why we have to learn Arabic. What is the jawab? The jawab is لَتُبْعَثُنَّ. Right? O you who deny the resurrection, meaning Allah is saying, I swear by these angels, these different categories of angels. Those angels that swear and that pull out the souls of disbelievers with harshness, that take out the souls of believers with ease, that glide between the heavens and the earth, right? That race with one another to take the souls of the believers to Jannah, and those that descend and manage the affairs of the dunya. I swear by all of these angels, O you who deny the day of judgment, that you will surely be resurrected. This is the jawab, or this is the answer to that oath. And this is not written in the ayat. Is it clear? Is it clear? I feel like am I going too deep in the Arabic language? Let me know if you don't want this depth in the Arabic, and it's okay. We will just go over the ayat easily.
So how would we know that's the jawab?
You will not know. You will not know without studying the Arabic language. You will not know, right? And that's not to say, that's not to make one hopeless and say I can never understand the Quran, right? But at the end of the day, when we read Arabic, like how did I know that an oath has two parts to it? An oath has two parts to it because that's from studying the Arabic language, right? Any oath that you take has two parts to it. One is the oath and one is the jawab, or the response to that oath, right? Over here, now I apply that knowledge to these ayat, right? I look in these 5 ayat and I see, well, only the oath is there. So where's the jawab? Where's the response? And that has to be inferred. Then you realize it has to be inferred based on the context of the surah, right? Because the surah is talking about those people that deny of the day of judgment. Clear?
So the first 3 ayats you're saying wa?
All 5 are wa. The first 5 are wa. Oh, fa, sorry. Okay, so this brings to another point. In the Arabic language, when you swear an oath, you can swear it by 3 letters. You can swear it by waw, by fa, and by ta. There are 3 letters that you can swear an oath by in the Arabic language. Waw, like it comes, وَالنَّازِعَاتِ غَرْقًا, and then fa, فَالْمُدَبِّرَاتِ أَمْرًا, and then ta, تَاللَّهِ. Allah says in the Quran.
So it means not you, but Allah can swear about it.
Say again, please.
So these are the 3 letters that Allah can
No. Generally, if anyone wants to make an oath in the Arabic language and he wants to swear, he uses one of these 3 letters. Okay? Even human beings, yes. This is why these 3 letters are used here. He asked me about waw and fa. Why is fa used in the last 2 and waw is used in the first 3? Right? It's because of this reason. Because in the Arabic language, we can make an oath through different means.
Is there a reason why it's switched?
I don't know. Okay. Next ayah. يَوْمَ تَرْجُفُ الرَّاجِفَةِ. Okay. تَرْجُفُ الرَّاجِفَةِ. Alright, Yawma is clear. Yawma is the day. Okay. Tarjufu is al-ittirab. It's shaking, quaking. Right? Ar-Rajifa refers to the earth. Okay. Ar-Rajifa refers to the earth. Meaning on that day when the earth will shake and quake violently. So what is being referred to? Now we just did the simple translation of the ayah. Okay? The day when the earth, when there's a tremor, and because of that tremor, that event, the earth will shake violently. إِذَا زُلْزِلَتِ الْأَرْضُ زِلْزَالَهَا. Right? What is the tremor, what is the event that is being referred to in this ayah? Very good. Very good. Yes, Day of Judgment, right? The first blowing in the trumpet. Alright? That is being referred to in the ayah, an-nafkhatul ula, right? On that day when Israfil will blow in the trumpet, this is what will happen to the earth on that day. Tarjufu, it will quake, right? And have tremors in it, violent tremors. Imagine the day, right? On the chaos and the mayhem on that day is unbelievable, right? The Armageddon. Yeah.
So when it's blown, the first, do all souls then die, or is it die over time?
So there's a difference of opinion amongst the scholars. How many blowings will there be in the trumpet? Okay, I mentioned this in a previous class. Some of the scholars say that there will be 3 blowings, right? The first blowing is when everyone will panic. Everyone that's still remaining on the earth and alive at that time. Okay? And there are certain hadith that before, in the end of times, the soul of every believer will be taken. And no one will stay except for those who disbelieve in God. Okay? So the first blowing is the blowing when everyone will panic. Right? There will be chaos. Right? The second blowing, they call in Arabic, nafkhatul faza'. Right? The second blowing is nafkhatul sa'iq. وَنُفِخَ فِي الصُّورِ فَصَعِقَ مَنْ فِي السَّمَاوَاتِ وَالْأَرْضِ. Allah says in the Quran, right? It was when Israfil will blow the second time and everything will collapse. Right? Like life will cease at that point. Okay? And then there is a third blowing when everything, nafkhatul ba'th, everyone will be resurrected. And that's when the Day of Judgment will start. Okay? After the third blowing. Some of the ulama, they said that there are only 2 blowings, right? And they combine the first and the second one into one. And they say that Israfil, when he will blow in it the first time, it will cause panic, and from that panic people will fall and collapse and die. Right? So this, and now we understand the ayah, right? Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, كُلُّ نَفْسٍ ذَائِقَةُ الْمَوْتِ, meaning even those people that are alive at that time, they will taste death. Right? It's not that they will simply be transferred to the hereafter. Does that answer your question? Okay. يَوْمَ تَرْجُفُ الرَّاجِفَةِ, is the ayah clear? Clear? تَتْبَعُهَا الرَّادِفَةِ, next ayah. تَتْبَعُهَا, meaning it is to come after. The ha refers to the rajifa, right? The first, the quaking of the earth, right? تَتْبَعُهَا الرَّادِفَةِ, yani something that comes after it, which is the second blowing. Or the third blowing, according to those scholars that say there are 3 blowings. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says in the next ayah, قُلُوبٌ يَوْمَئِذٍ وَاجِفَةٌ. Hearts. Qulub, this word, it came nakira, meaning it came indefinite. Right? So it's meant to say that a lot of hearts on that day. When a word comes nakira like this, Ibn Ashur says, it refers to a lot of hearts. And whose hearts are being referred to? Those people that used to deny the Day of Judgment. Those people that used to deny the resurrection. On that day, their hearts will be يَوْمَئِذٍ وَاجِفَةٌ, full of fear, full of apprehension, palpitating, pounding with terror. قُلُوبٌ يَوْمَئِذٍ وَاجِفَةٌ, a lot of hearts.
Qulub, plural for qalb?
Yes. Yes. Qulub is plural for the word qalb. That's why wajifa is feminine. Right? Because qalb is masculine. If you were to say one heart, you would say qalbun yawma idin wajif. This qulub is feminine. Right? So that's why it's wajifatun. Clear? So we understand whose hearts are being referred to, and hearts of a lot of people. As for the hearts of the believers, those people that used to expect resurrection and they used to expect accountability, on that day they will be in ease and they will be in comfort. Okay? And Ibn Ashur mentions in his Tafseer that people's ease and comfort on that day will be dependent on their level and strength of belief and their preparation for the hereafter.
That's on the Day of Judgment
Yes. This is on the Day of Judgment after the second or third blowing, depending on the difference of the scholars. Okay? The level of ease, the level of comfort, the level of, coolness you will have on that day is dependent on the level of preparation you had for that day and your iman. Yes.
So when they're having the fear in their hearts, that's after they're resurrected again?
Yes, that's after the resurrection. قُلُوبٌ يَوْمَئِذٍ on that day, meaning the day of judgment. Right? This is not referring to after the first blowing when they're panicking and they fall down. This is not referring to that. This is referring to after they have been resurrected already.
Resurrected in their own body?
Resurrected in their own body, yes. Go to the ayah before it. تَتْبَعُهَا الرَّادِفَةِ. Right? The ayah before it, الرَّادِفَةِ refers to what? The second blowing. Right? It refers to the second blowing. أبصارها, the 9th ayah, أبصارها خاشعة. Right? Absar, the eyes of these hearts will be full of dread and humility. And the description that's being given, if you've seen like a person that has fear in his eyes, right? And he's running away from something. What does he do? He looks from the corner of his eyes to make sure that he can escape. So that's the imagery that's being given, right? He'll look from the corner of his eyes out of fear and apprehension that nothing harms him. This is khashi'ah. This is what it means. And another point of benefit over here, brothers and sisters, is that Allah says absaruha, meaning the eyes of these hearts. Why did Allah ascribe the eyes to the heart? In the heart? What does the eyes have to do with that then? Because it's all from one body, and it's to show the level of connection in the fear. Just like the hearts are fearful, that fear will be seen on the eyes. Right? It's not something that can just be contained within the heart. Some people, they're afraid, but they can control themselves. Right? They can manage themselves, they can keep themselves under the cool, and they can show that to other people that they're completely fine. But on that day, you cannot. It will come out. The fear that is, in the heart, it will overflow to the eyes and on the outward appearance of the body. Right? Next ayah, يَقُولُونَ أَإِنَّا لَمَرُدُودُونَ فِي الْحَافِرَةِ. Okay, يَقُولُون, meaning they say. Who's being referred to? All of these ayat are being referred to who? Those people that deny the resurrection, that deny accountability in front of Allah. Right? By the way, if you look at the whole concept of accountability, right? The whole concept of accountability, this is what really keeps a human being in check. Right? Is a belief in the akhirah, is a belief that he will be held responsible for his actions, right? Because the laws of the dunya, they change. The laws of the world, they change, right? Meaning that on certain years you can have one law, later they can change it, right? And we've seen that, right? But what keeps a person consistent, right, on his morals and principles is a belief in the hereafter. That he will be held accountable for these actions in front of Allah. And the Prophet ﷺ said, مَا مِنْكُم مِّنْ أَحَدٍ إِلَّا سَيُكَلِّمُهُ رَبُّهُ لَيْسَ بَيْنَهُ وَبَيْنَهُ حَاجِبٌ وَلَا تُرْجُمَانٌ. There is not a single one amongst you except Allah will speak to him directly. Everyone, me, you, right? Your parents, your spouses, your children, Allah will speak to them directly. لَيْسَ بَيْنَهُ وَبَيْنَهُ حَاجِبٌ وَلَا تُرْجُمَانٌ. There is no veil between that person and Allah on the Day of Judgment. وَلَا تُرْجُمَانٌ. And there is no translator. There is simply a direct connection with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, meaning the accountability. And in the end of the surah, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, فَأَمَّا مَنْ خَافَ مَقَامَ رَبِّهِ وَنَهَى النَّفْسَ عَنِ الْهَوَى. As for the one who fears this standing, meaning what does it mean fear? It doesn't mean he quakes in this dunya, right? Trembles. No, it doesn't mean that. The word fear over here means that he prepares for it. He's cognizant of this standing in front of Allah, so he prepares for it, right? وَنَهَى النَّفْسَ عَنِ الْهَوَىٰ. And he doesn't just blindly follow all of his desires. Rather, he keeps his desires in check based on the moral laws that have been laid down in Islam, right? فَإِنَّ الْجَنَّةَ هِيَ الْمَأْوَىٰ. Then Allah will make Jannah his residing place in the hereafter. So Allah doesn't do a dhulm to anyone, right? And if Allah rewards much more, right? And out of His mercy and His bounty. Going back to the ayah, يَقُولُونَ أَإِنَّا لَمَرْدُودُونَ فِي الْحَافِرَةِ. They say, meaning those people that deny the resurrection and the accountability, أَإِنَّا لَمَرْدُودُونَ. Shall we really be brought back? فِي الْحَافِرَةِ, meaning to our previous life. The life that we had in the dunya. Meaning, shall we be brought back to life as good as new, just like we used to live in the dunya? Just like we used to live in the world after we're dead? They say it out of ta'ajjub, which is amazement, and sometimes when you ask a question, a rhetorical question, it's out of amazement, is out of disbelief, like, I can't believe this is going to happen. So it's not a real question they're asking out of they genuinely want to know the answer. No, they're asking in a mocking tone. How is that even possible? Next ayah, أَإِذَا كُنَّا عِظَامًا نَخِرًا. Meaning, shall we be brought back to life when we are عِظَامًا, bones that have been decayed. نَخِرًا, decayed, right? That have crumbled. Can we be brought back to existence? Meaning they're questioning Allah's ability to bring them back to life. Is this even possible or not? And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says in many places in the Quran, لَخَلْقُ السَّمَاوَاتِ وَالْأَرْضِ أَكْبَرُ مِنْ خَلْقِ النَّاسِ. Look at the creation of the heavens and the earth, right? The sky, the universe, the planets. This is more difficult than the creation of man. If Allah can create this without any difficulty, right? Then bringing you back to life is easy. It's nothing difficult for Allah. The creation of that and the creation of that is equal for Allah. There's no difficulty, right? Right? إِذَا أَرَادَ شَيْئًا أَن يَقُولَ لَهُ كُن فَيَكُونَ. When Allah wants something, He says kun, and it becomes. The next ayah, قَالُوا. Is that ayah clear? Number 11? Yes?
So I think somewhere it says that it's even easier to bring back than creation, like in the first place.
Yeah.
Creating. So
It comes, what is the ayah? Yeah.
I'm sorry.
Let me.
So can you tell a little bit about why that's why
So I think this is. Didn't we take this in Surah An-Naba? It's not coming to my mind right now, right? It's not coming to my mind. Anyway, the point of the ayah, I remember we took this, we discussed this last time, is that if you make something the first time, right? Just on us as a human level, right? If I were to make this phone, right? The first time I were to make it, the level of difficulty I would have in successfully making this phone is more or less as to me replicating this. It's more. It's significantly more, right? Because you have a trial and error process, somewhat of a trial and error process that you're going through, right? That you're making something for the first time and you don't know, it might turn out. It says Einstein, it says he failed over 1,000 times before he made the first light bulb, right? So your level of your failure is going to be much more, right? And it's going to be much more difficult for you to successfully produce a product. Whereas if you go back and replicate it, it's much easier. It's not difficult at all, right? So the mithal that has been given, right? The example that's been given to help us understand as humans, that if you were to look at yourself, right? For you to replicate something is much easier than to make it the first time, right? But for Allah, it doesn't make a difference. For Him to make it the first time or replicate it, it's the same. Nothing is difficult for Allah. But the mithal is to be given to us as humans to help us understand that concept of resurrection. Answer your question?
Thank you.
Yeah.
For these people who are saying it after they've already been resurrecting, like
Okay.
Died and then
Yeah. No. So this is what they're saying in the dunya. All right. So that's a good point that you pointed out. That these previous ayat, right? When we talked about قُلُوبٌ يَوْمَئِذٍ وَاجِفَةٌ أَبْصَارُهَا خَاشِعَةٌ, right? These are things that will happen on the Day of Judgment, right? As for their statements, يَقُولُونَ أَإِنَّا لَمَرْدُودُونَ فِي الْحَافِرَةِ أَإِذَا كُنَّا عِظَامًا نَخِرَةً. These are things that they are saying now, right, in the world. Right? So that's a good point that you brought out, that you have to, understand when they're saying these things and when the events will take place. Because when they're on the Day of Judgment, they're not going to say it, obviously, right? Because they're already resurrected at that point. And we'll just finish this maqta', right? قَالُوا تِلْكَ إِذًا كَرَّةٌ خَاسِرَةٌ, right? They say that, قَالُوا, they say, tilka, meaning that resurrection will be something that is khasira. Okay, it will be something that in which there is a loss for us. What do they mean when there will be a loss for us, right? If we're resurrected, what they mean by that is that, imagine them saying this in this world. If we're really resurrected, then we all know where we're going on the Day of Judgment because of us denying the resurrection in the dunya, right? That's a loss for us on the Day of Judgment because of how we used to deny in the dunya. Clear? Clear? فَإِنَّمَا هِيَ زَجْرَةٌ وَاحِدَةٌ. Allah says that for them to be resurrected is nothing difficult. It is a zajra, right? A zajra is a single blast, alright, which will be the blowing of Israfil, the nafkhatul ba'ath, alright, the second or third blowing. And فَإِذَا هُمْ بِالسَّاهِرَةِ, with this ayah we will conclude inshallah. فَإِذَا هُمْ بِالسَّاهِرَةِ, when this blast takes place, meaning the blowing of Israfil alayhi salam, right, the second blowing or the third blowing, فَإِذَا هُمْ, they will suddenly find themselves on sahira. What is sahira referred to? Meaning the face of the earth. Meaning they will be resurrected from their graves, and suddenly in an instant they will be found, they will be back on the earth, resurrected as if they were in the dunya. And that is nothing. وَمَا ذَلِكَ عَلَى اللَّهِ بِعَزِيزٍ. That is nothing difficult for Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. As a Muslim, and Ibn Ashur says, as-sahira refers to a plain earth that is completely white, in which there is no vegetation and no sin has been committed on it. This is referring to as-sahira. And as Muslims, it befits us, brothers and sisters, that we should constantly remind ourselves of the hereafter. Right? Constantly reminding yourself of the hereafter helps a person to prepare for it. And it makes the difficulties of this life much smaller than they are. When you constantly remind yourself that there is a life coming up, and in that life, you as a Muslim, you will see the person that you believed in your entire life, did not see him, the Prophet ﷺ. You will meet these people that you just read about in books, Abu Bakr, Umar, Uthman, Ali, Zayd, Talha, right? Abdul Rahman ibn Auf, Abu Ubadah ibn al-Jarrah, all these people, right? It makes the difficulties of these lives seem trivial, much more trivial than they are, right? And this is why the Prophet ﷺ said that remember death often, right? Because it's the ending of all of us. All of us, we don't like to think about it as humans. Yes, it's difficult for us, but all of us will have to go through this phase. The Prophet ﷺ had to go through this phase, right? And in some narration it says that even the angels, they will die. So this is a reminder to myself and everyone, just remember this, and may Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala allow us to benefit from this knowledge, and that we prepare for this event and we prepare for our meeting with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And in that, inshallah, we will conclude. Salah is in 5 minutes, I believe, 7 minutes. And inshallah, not next week we will have the class, but probably the week after. And we'll continue the tafsir. I told Arsalan that, the other Arsalan, not me, right? I told him that I want to finish tafsir of Juzz Amma from the beginning till the end. We did Surah An-Naba, we're doing Surah An-Nazi'at. The thing is, tafsir takes time to explain, right? And our fiqh class is also intensive. It takes, about 2 hours. We went over today, 2.5 hours to do fiqh, right? So, but inshallah, after Ramadan, we will try to continue the Tafseer series and finish all of Juzz Amma, because it's important to read Tafseer of at least Juzz Amma, because these are surahs that we read constantly on a daily basis, right? Especially, the ones at the end, which is a normal part of our lives. So it's important to go over these, inshallah. جزاكم الله خيرا وآخر دعوانا الحمد لله رب العالمين.